don't... Spain. All right. All right. Yeah, it's div templates, but for ships. I got it. All right, guys. So let's do Navy reorg. Okay. Alright, let's see what's going on with Space News. I'm going to take a quick break. We'll start Space News in a second here. Third place, sad face. That was the end of the Soviet save. Alright, so that was fun, Hearts of Iron. I don't know when I'm going to play Hearts of Iron again. It'll probably be next week, guys. I usually start Hearts of Iron on Tuesdays. So we'll get into Space News, figure out what's going on in the space world today. But I'm going to take a quick break here. All right. Oh, and as a general rule, you need one capital ship for each carrier to act as a screen. Then 4 to 6. Yeah, Django, that's how those fleets were set up. One carrier, one battleship, heavier light cruisers supporting that, and destroyers supporting them. Yeah. But anyway, fellas, let's get a video up and running here. Let's see if I can find something. Let's see. Trying to find any recent SLS videos. Nah, not really. Here. I got something we haven't seen anymore. We haven't seen before, excuse me. Here. Alright. Some payload deployment footage from Virgin. Sweet. Okay. I'll be back momentarily. About 15-20 minutes. So, I'll be back in a moment.
Cycle your zero optic switch prior to beginning P-52.
Debrief. Apollo 8.
Roger. We're going to see if we can find the stars here before we do the P-52.
And it's sort of in a paraphrase of a
To
poem.
debrief is to gather useful information after an event that might have gone unreported during the event itself, and to start to draw some conclusions.
Reading out Apollo 8. Okay, it was the night before Christmas and way out in space. The Apollo 8 crew had just won.
A machine may be said to be born when it first performs a useful function. This then is the birth of a machine and the beginning of an achievement. 363 feet tall, weighing just under 6.25 million pounds. Capable of 180 million horsepower, the first stage engines came from Louisiana. The second stage came from California, as did the third. They were proved out for the mission in Alabama. The vehicle destined to make the moon touchdown in a later Apollo mission comes from New York. The guidance and navigation equipment within the narrow instrument ring grew in Wisconsin, was checked in Massachusetts. Electromechanicals within the command and service modules are from Florida. Display systems from New Hampshire. The astronaut spacesuits are from Delaware. The mission commander was born in Indiana, grew up in Arizona. On its moon voyage, it will be controlled from Texas, serviced by computers in Maryland, splashed down near Hawaii. The giant crawler on which it rides was made in Ohio. The genius and sweat of literally the entire nation ride the mission. The dream of man, the long, impossible dream to reach out to the moon, is coming true. These men will lead the way. Colonel Frank Borman, Navy Captain Jim Lovell, Lieutenant Colonel Bill Anders. The successful conclusion, the happy ending, is history, but gaps remain. Importantly, part of the task of filling those gaps belongs to each individual. A self-debriefing to evaluate the larger significance of the event, which might have gone unnoticed in the excitement. For some, this re-evaluation has already begun. Dr. Norman Vincent Peale.
The mission of Apollo 8, quite apart from its significant scientific meaning, stimulated an immense rejuvenation of the spirit of mankind. And that spirit needed rejuvenation. A year featured by 2 grim assassinations, by riots, by racial and social strife, and a baffling attempt to end the war left men with a dull sense of frustration. Then at the end of such a year came the Apollo 8, an incredible adventure, when 3 intrepid spirits circled the moon, fascinating the imagination of man. Their willingness to stake their lives on the enterprise, the infinite perfection of detail which worked precisely, and their deep spiritual understanding of the greater world in which God presides, communicated a new sense of man's greatness and gave the world a fresh sense of meaning.
Dr. Norman Vincent Peale. Ptolemy suggested that the Earth might be round. Columbus gave a practical demonstration of the fact. If any lingering doubt remains, now man has seen with his own eyes.
I have a beautiful view of the S4B and the Earth here all in one. I'll try to get a picture for you. Okay.
The S4B is the 3rd stage rocket engine. Droplets of its vented fuel scatter around it. The speed of the spacecraft, outward bound, brings us face to face with another acceleration, a new fact of life. Historian Arthur Schlesinger, Jr.
The salient fact of our age is the fantastic speed up in the velocity of history. It was as recently as 1903 that the Wright brothers soared for a moment over the sand at Kitty Hawk. And today, 65 years later, within the same lifetime of many men, astronauts fly around the moon. And now the velocity of history is carrying us into a new phase in the human adventure. No one knows where this new phase will end, in what triumph or tragedy. But it is clear that the flight of Apollo 8 begins a new epoch in the history of man.
Historian Arthur Schlesinger, Jr. Part of beginning an epoch, in the present instance, is keeping house for 6 days in a space about the size of the back seats of 3 station wagons packed for a family vacation. As you watch motion pictures taken on board, you will hear comments relayed to Houston on the same subject.
Roger, thank you.
Happiness is bacon squares for breakfast.
If you don't eat them, I'll bring them back. We'll polish them off here.
Okay, Houston, Apollo 8 here. I stand corrected. William had 1 bear seat. He didn't tell me about it. He snuck it.
Part of the astronaut's working gear is a helmet holding earphones and microphone in position. It's called a Snoopy hat.
Yeah, you're looking pretty small down there now, Houston.
We're carrying a big stick, though.
Just barely got clear lake.
And your nozzle temperatures, Bill, have dropped from about 94 to around 66.
This is Mission Control. It stands as the first rank of the unnumbered and innumerable Apollo team. Flight controllers man the consoles. They watch a continuing readout of every system in the capsule, 3 shifts around the clock. All flight controllers speak to the astronauts through one voice, the capsule communicator of each shift. He is an astronaut himself, best suited to sense the needs, the stresses, the preoccupations, the environment of the men so far away. The line of communications is spread round the world. Land bases must be supplemented by ships carrying the special equipment needed to keep the channels open. Aircraft become flying transmitters and receivers. Other nations help with deep space communications. Australians join the team in Canberra, Spaniards in Madrid. The third base is in California. Men, women, and machines spread round the world. This team is knit by faith, an acceptance of responsibility for perfect performance. It stretches back through the ranks to each workman involved in American industry. They kept faith in a spirit of dedication to excellence. The successful completion of the mission is a witness to how they came through. And once achieved, this dedication may be applied in other directions. Henry Ford made comment.
The courageous voyage of the Apollo 8 astronauts has done more than extend our knowledge of the universe. It has enlarged the spirit of man. If we can successfully challenge the mysteries and dangers of outer space, surely we can move confidently now to achieve a better, more peaceful life for our fellow humans here and throughout the planet Earth.
Mr. Henry Ford. Not all giant eyes and ears on Earth are turned toward the spacecraft. The sensing machines of the Space Particle Alert Network face the sun. From our life-giving sun streams a hail of infinitely small pieces of matter. On Earth, we are shielded from them by our cloak of atmosphere and our magnetosphere, the integument of Van Allen belts. The men and women of SPAN monitor sunspot and solar flare activity, looking for clues to an imminent rise in the stream of potentially hazardous space particles. The team grows wider, deeper, stronger. History repeats itself in paraphrase. This is the shot seen round the world. This is the first shot of Earth, live on television. The mission was conducted in the plain sight of the entire world, literally.
Happy birthday, Mother.
Back in 1961, when Apollo goals were first set, President Kennedy said, "Whatever mankind must undertake, all men must freely share." Apollo 8 remained true to that pledge. On television, it gave us a new look at the moon and a new look at ourselves. This is Thomas J. Watson, Jr.
10 years ago, it seemed probable that Russia would make this flight before us and would make a moon landing first as well. With the Apollo 8 flight, it becomes obvious that we have moved into the lead. We can be thankful that the United States has shown the world once again that it can accomplish any tasks it decides upon.
Thomas J. Watson, Jr., chairman of the board of IBM. Direct from the deep space tracking antenna in Madrid, these pictures were passed along to the Eurovision network, to London, Paris, Rome, West Germany, Scandinavia. They were seen in Warsaw, Prague, in Moscow. Citizen of the world, winner of the Nobel Prize for Peace, Dr. Ralph Bunche.
Apollo 8 and those stout-hearted astronauts have given to mankind a new and limitless perspective in the universe, and to the Earth an added dimension of proximity and neighborliness in the solar system. The epic flight of Apollo 8 in cracking the moon barrier demonstrates that man now has the capability to soar as high and as far as his dreams may project.
Dr. Ralph Bunche of the United Nations.
Okay, Houston. The moon is essentially gray. No color. Looks like plaster of Paris, or sort of a grayish beach.
Christmas Eve. The date of a mission is dictated by launch windows, which open and close in a long cycle. If you miss one, you wait. The December window opened the 21st, closed the 27th. So the date and hour of the Apollo 8 mission was really determined billions of years ago when the celestial clock was first set in motion. It timed out to the Christmas season. Bob Hope reported a Vietnam reaction.
All joy, believe me, all joy. The men I spent Christmas with have a lot on their minds, but the Apollo 8 trip turned out to be as important as anything. What the 3 astronauts did rubbed off on a lot of guys. Everybody grew a little tall, and that was double if you were away from home. And I think it'll be months before we know how much it meant to all of us and all the people of the world.
Bob Hope. It was Christmas on Earth and on the moon.
The moon is a different thing to each one of us. I know my own impression is that it's a vast, lonely, forbidding type existence or expanse of nothing. It looks rather like clouds and clouds of pumice stone. And it certainly would not appear to be a very inviting place to live or work. Jim, what have you thought most about? Well, Frank, my thoughts were very similar. The vast loneliness up here on the moon is awe-inspiring, and it makes you realize just what you have back there on Earth.
Wasteland, desolate, inhospitable, in unremitting procession. The apparent speed at which you see these pictures is not real time. Only a technical camera was carried on the mission. Altitude about 70 miles, shot with a long lens.
Mike, I think I can say without contradiction that there's been a mighty long dry spell up here.
I guess you can say anything you like without contradiction.
This film was taken through an optical sighting instrument on board the spacecraft. 2 separate images converge on the single eyepiece. It was intended only for space navigation. Navigation in space requires 3 dimensions instead of 2. Scientific sextant observations made on Apollo 8 were a practical, potentially vital gathering of scientific data. Taking the longer view of the scientific value of the mission, comment was made by Dr. Leo Goldberg, astronomer.
I believe the Apollo 8 mission will ultimately prove to be of enormous scientific importance as a vital step that had to be taken before men actually land on the moon. Once they do, the exploration of the moon is bound to give us crucial information on how the moon and other bodies in the solar system were formed. Furthermore, the mission proved that we now have the capability to move large and complicated scientific equipment around in space and to deploy it almost anywhere we wish to in the space between the Earth and the Moon. I find this to be a very thrilling prospect indeed. But no matter what happens in the future, the voyage of Apollo 8 will be looked back upon as the mission that proved we could really operate in space on a large scale.
Astronomer Leo Goldberg of Harvard University. The condition of zero gravity, when you get accustomed to it, has some very practical applications. The command module on Apollo 8, serial number 103, did not change at Christmas, but there was talk of reindeer and Santa Claus.
Right, he was looking for a chimney on 103 here, but he didn't see any.
You could have left the hatch unlocked for him.
I'll think about that one.
Think real hard, Jim. ECOM says he could have slipped down the steam duct.
Sounds good about that time, Phil. It was boiling water. God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning were the first day. And God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. And God said, "Let the waters under the heaven be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he seas. And God saw that it was good. And from the crew of Apollo 8, we close with good night, good luck, a Merry Christmas, and God bless all of you on the good earth.
Soon.
Isaac Asimov is a professor of biochemistry and a prolific
Soon.
writer of science fiction. For many years, he's been thinking in terms of an Earth to Moon to Earth trip. Asimov has a special point of view.
The feat of Apollo 8 is of peculiar interest to myself because it places me in the unaccustomed position of being over-conservative. In 1939, I wrote a story describing, in essence, this flight. I placed it in 1973. I suppose if someone had asked me then, do you really suppose people will fly around the moon and back to Earth by 1973, I would have answered, not really, but it makes a good story. Well, they did it in 1968, and I am more happy than I can say.
Isaac Asimov stands with one foot in the world of science and one foot in fantasy to take a fictional look at the future, and underestimates. With both feet in the practical world that now includes outer space, a comment from the returning space capsule during a TV transmission starts us off in another direction.
We have you about 180,000.
Looking at yourself. Alright, you're looking at yourselves as seen from 180,000 miles out in space.
Mike, what I keep imagining is if I'm some lonely traveler from another planet, what I think about the Earth and altitude, whether I think it'd be inhabited or not.
Friday, December the 27th. Re-entry, splashdown, acquisition, recovery. The last 15 minutes of the flight began at a speed of almost 25,000 miles an hour. Then, only 5 miles from the appointed rendezvous in the Pacific, it ended, speed 0. If a machine may be said to be born when it performs a useful function, perhaps it is said to die when that function is fulfilled. And having died, it will be enshrined next to its still young ancestors, the aircraft of Orville and Wilbur Wright, Lindbergh's Spirit of St. Louis. But this is not an end, far from it. It is part of a much longer plan.
I've never seen this video before, guys. What do you think? Do you like it? There's Bill Anders pulled up with the helicopter there.
It has been estimated that at some time or another during the flight of Apollo 8, over 1 billion people all over the face of the globe were tuned into the spacecraft by television or radio. The experience was most widely shared.
Hopefully we get back there soon. That guy just took a digger.
The astronauts returned to the world of men, but there's more. A week to the day after the Apollo 8 splashdown, another Apollo spacecraft had taken up its position on Pad 39 at Cape Kennedy. The countdowns by calendar and clock have begun to bring it to the same moment at which we first saw this Apollo 8 the night before it was born.
Yeah.
As launch windows open and close, the next missions move forward.
But I'll check them out.
2 test flights of the lunar landing vehicle, and then the proposed landing on the moon. And plans are in the making now which include flybys of other planets, visits to what Dr. Bunch calls neighbors. Eric Hoffer is a writer, until recently a working longshoreman, whose deep insights into the nature of man have stirred the thinking of many. Let me quote Eric Hoffer's words. I always felt that man is a stranger on this planet, a total stranger. I always played with the fancy that maybe a contagion from outer space was the seed of man. Hence our preoccupation with heaven, with the sky, with the stars, with a God who is somewhere out there in outer space. It's a kind of homing impulse. We are drawn to where we came from. And I'm just tickled to death that this thing is being done by squares. You know, by average Americans, not by these pretentious intellectuals, because this is the great genius of the average Americans. They take something momentous and make an unmomentous thing out of it. And by the time they are through with it, traveling into space and to the distant stars will become routine. This is why America is an ambiguity in the world, because we make it so that there are no exceptional persons required to do anything.
Well said. Oh, that was great. Speaking of stuff you've never seen before, a new Artemis SLS photo dropped. Man, the end of that made me happy. Call me simple, that's fine. The end of that was pretty good. Welcome to Space News, right? Damn. Is it cheaper to establish a spaceport around Earth than a base on the moon in the long term, in the name of using either of the launch vehicles for further space exploration? Base on the moon doesn't really make sense for deep space exploration, Hooded, unless you can manufacture there. So unless we want to build a space dry dock in a crater on the moon, which I don't see happening anytime in the near term. I mean, could be wrong with Starship, who knows? It would probably be better to... For stuff that's going out of Earth's sphere of influence, so something not to the moon, so like Mars or Venus, it'd be better to build a shipyard in low Earth orbit. Now, here's the interesting thing. You need about 9 kilometers a second delta V to get into Earth orbit. You need about half of that to go to the surface of the moon. Half of that to go to the surface of the moon, and maybe 2/3 of that to go to the surface of the moon and back. Point being that it doesn't really matter. I mean, you could build your shipyard in low Earth orbit. You could put it at the moon. But if you make it in low Earth orbit and you fuel stuff, you could fuel it from fuel from the moon. If you do that, you're actually paying for less. That's less delta V. Because how much does it take to send a fueler up to low Earth orbit and then back down? As opposed to something that's already up there that can just go to the moon and back. That's not nearly as much delta V. I think it's about 2/3 of what it takes to get into Earth orbit. So it's like 6 or 7 kilometers a second to go to the moon and back. And then if you have a lunar fuel depot that's bringing fuel up from the surface of the moon and putting it at a fuel depot that is at a Lagrangian point, that number goes down exponentially. So basically a gas station around the moon, and then you fill up the ships that you build in low Earth orbit with the gas station from the moon. You could do that. Complicated mission architecture, but it's possible. In the long term, though, it's probably easier, and don't get me wrong, just because it's easier doesn't mean it's less efficient. It's probably easier in the long term to just build something in low Earth orbit and fuel it from low Earth orbit. That's easier in the short term. In the long term, building out that space infrastructure could be advantageous, but that takes time. Or just have an electromagnetic cannon on the moon. Yeah, I guess. I mean, how much energy are you going to need to spin that thing up and accelerate something up into space? If that's the same amount of energy that gets expended from the C3 that's needed to get to the Earth lunar Lagrangian point 1, then who cares? Because the name of the game is efficiency up there. Nice close-up of one of the SRBs. Yeah, there seems to be a lot of pictures from down around the bottom of the spacecraft here. Speaking of going back to the moon. A solar-powered maglev rail. Okay. See last. I say time to need a warp drive. Yeah, you know. And it would be nice if we could just fix climate change. I say it's time to fix climate change. Yeah, of course, W. Duh. What am I supposed to say to that? No? Yeah, obviously, that'd be nice. Why don't you get on it? You know? Anybody can recognize a problem and point out a problem. It takes water mass simulators to solve that problem. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Am I right? Am I right? What's that a picture of, Thomas? Jeez. Alright. So here, let's check out these pictures of SLS, speaking of going to the moon. Oh. Well, that's not a bad picture. Yeah, friendly trolling and joking. Yep. Well, looks like they got the whole bottom of the core fixed up and ready to go. Hey, Hand, what's going on? Wait, is it on the crawler already? No, it's on the mobile launcher, Orange. It's on the mobile launcher. The crawler goes down here. You can see the crawler tracks there, but there's no crawler in it. This is sitting inside of the VAB. The vehicle is stacked on its launcher. Yeah, fall hazard. Yeah, it's about a 50-foot drop down to the ground from here. Yeah, see, these pictures were taken right next to each other. There's one. This picture was taken like right over there. Hey, Aussie, good to see you again, buddy. What's up? Also recently posted. Soon. What are those tubes on the side of the SRB? Separator motors. Push it away from the core stage. Those are smaller SRBs. They're separatrons. There's 4 of them on the back here, and then there's 3 of them up at the top. When the SRBs are flying, core stage is here, the SRBs are flying, they do this. They separate, they get pushed initially backwards first, and then out, and then forward. So they just do this. Notice how the SRBs on the space shuttle, whenever they separated, they just kind of moved out like this, and they kind of stood there. That's what those engines are for. They slide back first during separation, then they get pushed out, and then those engines fire. And keep in mind, this happens very quickly, so the separation sequence looks like this. Where's that image from? The one with the rocket standing. This? NASA archives. Another 2. Man, these pictures are... Oh, man. Soon. Oh. I like that picture too, but we'll put that over there. This one, though. Wow. There's the attachment pin. There's 4 of them on each SRB. 2 here, 2 over there, and then there's 2 here, and there's 2 on the other side. That's all that holds SLS to the pad. 4 attachment pins, or 8 total. It's crazy. Everything else is just gravity, because those SRBs are heavy. Why does that look too futuristic? What do you mean? That's a really nice picture. Here. Let's see if we can find more. Images.nasa.gov. You can usually find what you're looking for in here. It's a great video, Singularity. Nice car. Oh, What's this? Oh, yeah, they demoed the original headquarters. When did this happen? Wow, this was the other day. Oh, man. That's the original KSC headquarters. They demolished it, which sucks. Huh. Interesting. Well, they did just post that, huh? Yeah, they replaced it with a futuristic building. That's new KSC headquarters right there. Trying to make it look like a campus. Yeah, there's the KSCVC is over there. Yeah, this is the KSC industrial. Well, not industrial side. This is the KSC proper. Where the astronauts suit up and stuff is that way. It's behind this picture. O and C is behind. And then the Orion capsules are assembled over there too. The old HQ building was cool. I've been in that building, which is really neat. I once got lost in the old HQ one time looking for a training class. That was sprawling. Yeah, I ate lunch in the cafeteria in there once, Juice Spot. Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, there's a lot of good pictures in here. Burbs. Well, that's a shame. Yeah, that building was built in '65. Was demolished and replaced at the Florida Spaceport by the Built in 1965, the 439,000 square foot structure was demolished and replaced at the Florida Spaceport by the 2,000 square foot, 7-story Central Campus headquarters. The building, CCHQ, is modernized, energy efficient facility, representative of Kenny's transformation to America's premier multi-user spaceport. I hate that word. I hate that phrase. I'm serious. I can't stand it. Every time I hear America's premier multi-user spaceport, I cringe a little bit. The area previously occupied by the old headquarters building will be utilized as green space. Ryan, so when is it launching? Is it still February? SLS is going to be out a little bit, probably late March. As an IT professional, I could say passing cables on old buildings sucks. Yeah. Why not leave it standing then? Probably too costly to maintain. Here, KSC HQ. I'll show you what the old building looked like. I like the old building. I thought it was cool. But of course, it's me. Of course I like the old building. It's very 60s. It was a cool looking building. Very, very mid-century space age thing going on here. They will probably build something into space. Yeah, they will build a field. That's what that caption just said. It's so cool. Yeah, they replaced it with that. A smaller building that's more energy efficient. Has no soul. No, that building's okay. That building's cool. I just hate the multi-user spaceport thing, man. Why? You know what? Why? To be honest, a lot of the old HQ was unused nowadays. Well, yeah, Vulcan, that's part of the problem. It was built in 1965. I don't know about asbestos, but yeah. It's a cool building. Like I said, the cafeteria is right there. I've walked around in that sucker. At this point, it might be delayed to 2023. I mean, what keeps delaying it? They're just... The first time you go to put a big spacecraft on the pad, you're going to run into some unknown unknowns. You can't predict everything. Ryan, I don't know why you think that. That's... Whoever told you that is full of themselves. You're always going to have problems. It pays to go slow now so you don't make mistakes later. It getting delayed by a month is really not that big of a deal. But yeah. So entry, why do I hate the multi-user spaceport stuff? You know, we had a conversation the other day, and this conversation kind of was just turning it in the back of my head, and we were talking about building another pad at Complex 39 for SpaceX, right? So SpaceX can put this building to actual use instead of using up a quarter of it and paying for all of it, right? It would be cool if they took the back two high bays on the VAB and made them for Starship or something, and we could see Starships rolling out of the VAB all the time. Now, before you say, oh, I don't think they'll do that. I mean, yeah, probably not, but it would be nice. The overarching point that I'm trying to get at, and this is a kind of a poignant thought I had based off of this. This was the Space News from, I think, 2 days ago. The thing that I'm trying to get at here, guys, is these buildings were built to do work. Like the VAB, it dare I say, it kind of pisses me off seeing it empty. It's really annoying, you know? Like, I understand, you don't need to talk to me about the spaceflight policy. I know all about that. You know? Like, I understand why SLS is in the position that it is, and why it gets delayed, and, you know, Constellation was a better idea, but, you know, idiots thought differently, and blah, 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 blah. I can't help but just think in the back of my mind that, you know, we got rid of Apollo citing cost, and then we got rid of the shuttle because it's too old. I can't help but think that this thing was built to crank out Saturn V's like every month. That's what the capacity is on that building. You got 4 high bays. You could build 4 Saturn V's at the same time if you really wanted to, right? The transfer aisle is designed to hold an arsenal of freaking first, second, and third stages for the Saturn V. You know, I just can't help but think in the back of my mind that it just kind of sucks to seeing it used. It sucks seeing it used in such little capacity. It's very annoying. So what, is NASA going slower than something like SpaceX? NASA tests differently than SpaceX, Ryan. They test and engineer things through a different understanding of spaceflight. They use an entirely different testing regime, and that testing regime does take longer, but it's more comprehensive. I'm not sure, JSpeed. NASA is super inefficient by design, Chop, and that stems from the program, and it stems from leadership. Like, this thing, one booster. Like, and don't get me wrong, I understand why SLS is taking a long time. It's waterfall testing, it takes time, and it pays to cross the T's and dot the I's, so we can go faster later. I get it. But man, this thing should be cranking out like 3. There should be 3 SLS stacks in here. At least. Like, it's got to be at least 3 times as big. Nah, we should... This thing should have rockets rolling out of it every week. At this point, man. It's really annoying. Did I watch Tim's new video? No, I haven't yet. Yeah, Forge. Okay. Yeah, it's the one problem holding NASA back. They are also so caught up in, oh, they can't use the facilities. You know, we see that stuff. We watched that video, that debrief video with Apollo 8. Apollo 8 landed, and they had another Saturn V ready to go on the pad. You know? That's the Apollo 9 stack. And even this one, ready to go on the pad. Apollo 10 was being built, and 11 was being staged at this point in time. This is early 1969, right? Because Apollo 8 was December 1968. So they had to do Apollo 9, Apollo 10, and Apollo 11. And Apollo 11 was in July of 69. And 12 was in quarter 4, 1969. So that means that after Apollo 8 landed, they had a Saturn V for Apollo 9 ready to go on the pad. They had another Saturn V in the VAB that was being assembled for Apollo 10. And then Apollo 11 was being staged in the transfer aisle. And then Apollo 12 was being transported to Michoud at this time. See what I mean? Like, there is no way in hell. We cited huge cost of the Apollo program as the reason why we didn't do it anymore. But surely the huge price tag from the Apollo program was building all the stuff that it needed. Surely manufacturing the booster wasn't the most expensive part. It's the development. It always is. Ask Elon. Look at how long it's taken to develop Starship, and even then, they're going fast. Like, don't get me wrong. I want to see, you know what? If SpaceX or a private company has to come in and make the VAB do work, that's fine. But we footed the freaking price tag for this stupid thing. And we have to pay the full maintenance bill on it, but we only use 25%. That's part of the reason why the price of SLS is so dang high. Because you're footing the maintenance bill on everything you see in this picture. So, is it really that more complicated to build another mobile launcher? Is it really that more complicated to build out another high bay? Is it that big of a deal? Like, I don't know, man. Like, I want to see these buildings work. I want to put them to work, man. You know, and if SpaceX ends up being the one to do it, so be it. Why Starship and not Spaceship? Because none of them is going to a star but into space. It's just a name, Voldemort. Entropy, going back to multi-use, dude, it just... Yeah, this is an opinion. This is very much an opinion. This is very much EJ's opinion, so just bear with me. If you think I'm a nutter, that's fine. It doesn't matter. I really don't like... Well, at the same time, I think that if SpaceX bought 2 high bays in the VAB and started making starships in there, that'd be great. That would be really cool. But I can't help but think in the back of my mind that I'm not too incredibly keen on having the government property and stuff being pawned off to commercial users, just in the name of commercialization. That, I don't like that. I really don't like that. Yeah, that really... We have everybody has this, freaking hard-on to freaking want to, sell launch pads to commercial customers and sell this to commercial customers, sell that. It's like you're fire sailing off all these government buildings and government property. It's like, oh, okay, SpaceX will just use it. Oh, okay, SpaceX will just use it. And you know what? At the end of the day, I guess I'm okay with that if they're going to put the stupid buildings to work, at least that's, using the damn thing and not just paying for the electric bill, right? But I can't help but think in the back of my mind that past iterations, I guess, of NASA built this thing to do work. They built it to put it to work, and they built it to put it to work within the confines of NASA's operational capability, meaning that nothing has really changed in how NASA does things from now to the 60s. Like, it's still the same kind of formula, give or take. Some things are shifted here and there, right? Man, and once again, this is opinion, so this is just, it's kind of my gut feeling, but feelings don't really have much space in engineering and implementation of physics, conquering of physics, I guess. It feels like we let them down. I'll just go outright and say it. It feels like, we let those guys down a little bit. And I don't mean to be a stick in the mud, right? That's not right. Hey, Vanguard. Oh, well, I hope you feel better, man. Entropy, I think that's why I'm saying multi-user spaceport and pushing that angle it's kind of cringe, dude. It's kind of cringe. It's like, yeah, we were given them one of the most capable spaceports on the spaceport. Nice. We were given one of the most capable spaceports with the highest capacity to launch vehicles that can get humans beyond low Earth orbit, and we're going to pawn it off to commercial entities because, yeah, we don't do anything with it. Feels like we're letting those guys down. Like, I don't know. I just can't help but feel it in the back of my mind, and it didn't really dawn on me until we were talking about 39A the other day. Once again, I did a whole Space News segment, or at least a good chunk of a Space News segment on 39A and, you know, how they should expand it and what's the right way forward. And that entirely included using the VAB to just make starships. And I don't, you know what? If SpaceX wants to do that, that would be really cool. Man, it seemed to have no problem justifying it in the past arsenal. That's what I'm getting at. Yeah, that guy looks like a stuntman compared to other NASA administrations. Yeah. Yeah. Last, what's up, Barack? So, yeah, entropy, that's why I hate it. Like, I don't have any problem if SpaceX wants to put 39A to use. Good. At least somebody's freaking doing it. But I can't help but think that means that somewhere along the line, somebody at NASA took NASA's bread and butter, the pad that first put people out beyond low Earth orbit, which was abandoned after 2011, basically, and said, yes, this is a good idea if we lease it to SpaceX for 20 years. This is a good idea. Not, maybe we should refit this for SLS. Not, you know, maybe we should sell SpaceX 39B. And we keep 39A. It was, yes, let's take this historic pad. The only spaceport in the world that's ever sent humans beyond low Earth orbit. Ever. Then let's give it to a commercial entity. Somebody thought that was a good idea. But then again, if they hadn't done that, 39A would just still be sitting there doing nothing. So, I don't know. That's a lot of paragraphs really quickly. Give me 1 second to catch up. Barack, why have one of something where you can have zero of it by selling it for a quarter of its price? Yeah, Barack. Does that not sit right with anybody? And, like, this didn't really dawn on me until, like, we had this conversation about, oh, it'd be awesome if Starship just used the VAB, put it to work, do what it was originally supposed to do, and crank out a spaceship every month. Elijah, what's that? My dad was a submariner in a submarine called Providence. It started being decommissioned last year, and my uncle, who's a veterinarian agent, and one of his veterans who was fighting cancer, had a radiation pellet put in him, and the pellets came from the Providence core. I just find it cool how they're reusing submarines and ships to help people. Oh, on a side note, yeah, that's cool, man. Maybe that's part of the problem. They need to start doing things, getting them done before. Yeah, I'd be surprised if that happened, caveman. But Bill's trying to make stuff work behind the scenes. All right, I'm catching up. The other problem with NASA being slow is every 48 years the entire planning program is canceled. Well, see, Ryan, the flip side of that is that unless you're willing to spend a couple extra $1 billion and add them to NASA's budget, you're not going to get anything done in 4 years. Spaceflight takes longer than that. Even the Apollo program. The Apollo program, for how fast it went, spanned 3 different presidents. Oh, actually, 4, if you want to include Gerald Ford. Yeah, Franco, I wanted to change it up. I would rather have it be used instead of being abandoned like Missile Row was. Off-topic question, but are each of the screens in the background that actually play something an individual layer in OBS, or are they all rendered together? Individual GIF via a browser capture brink. It doesn't make sense having it be a local video. It'd screw your encoding. Is the one launch of SLS A year, a price thing, or a production one, or something else? Ryan, it's go slow now and figure out all the corners. Figure out all the unknown unknowns now, so we can launch more later. The SLS program is building, and it's been trending in a positive direction since 2018. The Transitional Authorization Act of 2017 from NASA steered SLS back onto the right course. And it is going to take time to fix all these things. But down the road, SLS won't be launching once a year. It'll be my guess is that they're going to aim for 4 times a year. Once a year for like the first couple of years. And then once we get back to the moon, then it's going to be twice a year. And then it'll ramp up by the end of this decade to 4 times a year, which is kind of concurrent with the Apollo program, I suppose. But yeah, I don't know, man. Can't help but think that, seeing that VAB there, what it was built for and what it was designed to do, it pisses me off seeing it empty. It really, really, really... Yeah, that really sucks. Alleviate. Question. There's astronauts on the ISS, but does that mean back in America there is someone that's able to communicate with them 24/7? Tracking data and relay system, which is a geostationary communication satellite program, a relay satellite program from NASA, makes it so the ISS is in 100% contact with Houston for the American side of the station, 24/7, 365. Yep. Mission Control uses 3 shifts. They have 3 8-hour shifts, 24 hours a day, monitoring the ISS at all times and in constant communication. So do the Russians. Four times a year was about what the guys behind Direct wanted out of their Jupiter rockets. Pigzig, yeah, four times a year is fine for the SLS program. That is what the Apollo program. That's what the Apollo program was like. The Apollo program at peak ramp, basically 68, 69, 70, was launching. They were basically scaling to a capacity of 4 Apollo missions a year. Look, they launched Apollo 8 basically at the very end of December 1968, right? Apollo 9 was in early 1969. Apollo 10 was in the middle of 1969. Apollo 11 was right after that in summer of 1969. And then Apollo 12 was in fall of 1969. That was scaling for 4 times a year. That's what the Apollo program did, and that gives you enough time between missions to debrief one mission and move to the next one. And that makes it so there's really little no downtime. I keep turning it in my head, dude. There's no way that's that expensive as everybody purports it to be. There's no freaking way. Because building and manufacturing the rockets that's not the costly part. Building the factory to manufacture the rockets and figuring out how to do it, that's the costly part. Like, anybody citing a cost as a reason to can the Apollo program is like saying we have a barrel full of money and I'm going to light it on fire because it's too heavy. Could NASA do 4 launches a year with 1 pad? Good question, Ryan. Now, pawning off 39A doesn't seem like such a good idea, does it? See what I'm getting at? It's a little annoying. That's why I hate, dude. That's why I've really over time grown to hate that term. I hate the term multi-user spaceport. It really is annoying. Today I was talking to a coworker and said they thought NASA was a waste of money. Yeah, all right. So I linked to Mark Rober's video from a few years back. They were amazed at how much it affects everybody's life. Good job. Okay, who can tell me here what multi-users are using Complex 39? How many users use KSC right now? You tell me. See how many people know. So SpaceX is the easy one. They're launching off 39A. Anybody else? So NASA launches off 39B. What else? ULA? How does ULA use KSC, Rogue? Rocket Lab has no presence at Kennedy Space Center, Alleviate. Neither does Northrop Grumman, except building the SRBs for SLS. Birds. Easy, Space Force. Space Force has no presence on Kennedy Space Center. That's Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, man. Astra set up their rocket at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. Yeah, that's the Commercial Lunar Payload Services, Voldemort. You want to check that out. CLPS for short. Blue Origin does not use KSC. They use KSC's industrial site, Avitus. So is it really a multi-user spaceport? That's really not what that name implies. Say multi-user industrial site, like what it should be, because that's what it is. Starliner is manufactured in OPF-3, and then Boeing operates the X-37 out of OPF-2. See what I mean? That's great. You have all these tenants now. That's awesome. But like when I think multi-user spaceport, I think multiple companies with multiple launch pads at 39A, and that's why I don't like that term. It's really misleading. That's why I cringe at it. It's kind of gross. Oh, we're gonna make KSC a multi-user spaceport. Yeah, let's demolish the Apollo headquarters that was designed to administrate over a program that was launching 4 times a year with super heavy lift rockets to the moon, and let's make it green space. Let's make it a park and replace it with a building half of its size. Like, SpaceX rented 39A in 2015. Dude, look. I'm happy that SpaceX is putting 39A to use. It's cool. I'm really happy to see that pad actually doing something rather than being abandoned. However, so somebody at NASA thought it was a good idea to take 39A and be like, yeah, we don't need this. The only pad ever to put humans beyond low Earth orbit, except for 39B. The pad that Apollo 11 launched from. The pad that Apollo 8 launched from. Every Apollo mission launched from 39A except for 10. 10 launched from 39B. Every mission to the moon there except for Apollo 10 launched from 39. Somebody at NASA said, yeah, we don't need this. Computers have gotten smaller, less floor space needed. But my rent money. So Mad Cobra, I mean, okay, let's look at it like that. So NASA has all these tenants around KSC that are paying them for buildings. Where's that money going? Shouldn't that theoretically bring the costs down on the programs that NASA is working on right now because they're getting income? Where's that money going? Angry German, did you all read about our body destroying? Yeah, I don't know. Not really what I'm talking about, but yeah. Is there a way for NASA to get back 39A? SpaceX leased the pad, Ryan. They leased it for... It was a 20-year lease, if I'm remembering right. So, yeah, the contract for that lease will come up in 2035. Yeah, hired. I'm not touching that one, dude. I am not touching that one. You know, we think about all that, and, you know, it's cool, though. We have a really cool-looking building, though. We demolished the building that actually did something. Now we have a really cool building. Now we have a really cool building for a multi-user spaceport, though. Like, it's kind of cringe. It's kind of cringe, bro. Damn. Like, don't get me wrong, guys. I don't like saying NASA. Like, I'm not trying to pick a bone with NASA. They do what they can, but somebody at NASA made the decision to pawn off 39A, and that never sat right with me. And it didn't really come into focus until we had all these conversations about how, SpaceX could, you know, they could use Complex 39 and they could use the VAB. You know, they could use the VAB and, actually put the VAB to use to do what it was intended to do. Launch rockets a lot. You know, because I was like, SpaceX could use the VAB, and everybody when we had that conversation was like, SpaceX, well, the crawler transporters are too slow. It takes too long. SpaceX goes faster than that. Not wholly realizing that the VAB, the crawler transports, and mobile launchers with the clean pads were literally designed to launch a lot. They hit the capacity. They got close to hitting the capacity for 39, for Complex 39 in 1969 and 1970, and that's it. It has come nowhere near close to its full capacity since then. Not even through the shuttle program. Maybe once during the shuttle program in 84 and 85. That thing, the VAB and the system is designed to launch a lot of super heavy lift vehicles very fast. Faster than any other complex around, that's for sure. Are they demolishing the VAB? No. They're not demolishing the VAB. They demolished KSC's original Apollo headquarters, which is... Theory. Someone thought using 39A would be a nice symbolic rah-rah yay team move that would inspire the next generation of blah blah blah. Yeah. Hypothetically, could NASA do better if it was public non-governmental? I don't know what that means, character. Isn't non-governmental by definition private the opposite of public? I don't know. I mean, with the idea of catching the booster in the ship, you'd really only need to roll out the first time. Well, I don't know about you, but I kind of thought about this the other day too. If you have a pad that's going to be catching boosters, and a booster hits the thing and breaks it, wouldn't it be nice to have another one that you can swap out really quick while you're working on another one? Instead of just building 2 launch pads? A clean pad design actually kind of makes sense with Starship. It's an interesting thought exercise, right? Not bound by Rule 8. Oh. No. So, character, let me explain it like this. It's a little more complicated than just, would NASA be able to do better if it was privatized? SpaceX pretty much shows what a privatized NASA would look like, because I firmly believe that SpaceX's goals are for the advancement of humanity, right? That's what NASA's supposed to be doing, right? That's kind of what their stated goal was. Work on aeronautical and space research to... it's a research organization, right? And that includes building new launch vehicles, building space stations, sending humans further into space. That got co-opted into Earth sciences and stuff sometime in the 80s, right? Which is fine. That's okay. I don't know. That's a understanding our place in the universe and understanding how space works is you need to understand how Earth's climate works and how Mars's climate works. Every other thing works, along with going into space. It's one component. It's one component to the whole machine. with that being said, like, SpaceX, I think, is a good example of what a privatized NASA would look like. Yes, we'd get more launches, but the science yields would not be nearly as high, because when you're a private company, you have to make money, right? You have to make money to stay afloat, right? NASA gets paid, and NASA gets paid to research, to do science. That's the profit. Science is the profit. That's always been the reason since 1958, and before that it was the NACA. So I always thought it was funny. I always thought it was funny when people say stuff's too expensive. Like, what? What do you mean it's too expensive? Do you think NASA would have just given up on any future launching if Commercial Crew didn't work out? No. And let me finish another thought here. Character. So with that being said, because NASA's profit is science, right? It's important to have that. It's important to have not an all-private space program or an all-government space program. An all-government space program, you see what happens when an all-government space program happens. It stagnates. Look at the space race. When it was all government space programs, it was not sustainable. Once the Soviet Union got word that we were going to defund the Apollo program, they decided it was not worth it. And once we figured out that the Soviet Union pulled out of their space program, that was part of the justification for getting rid of the Apollo program. We did what it needed to do. Bye-bye. See you later. So, all government space programs aren't really sustainable. The past has shown that. Look at the space shuttle. Same idea. Right? And then look at the reverse of that. An all-commercial space program, yeah, well, it might be a little more sustainable because you're making profits here. There's the science yield is more on the engineering side, less on the science side. You know? I'm not saying that in the future SpaceX couldn't do scientific missions, but do we want to privatize scientific understanding? That doesn't seem right either. I don't know. I think, character, it's very vital to have a healthy and strong national program and also a healthy and strong private program. We have half of that right now. We have a pretty damn healthy and strong commercial program, right? But those entities should be operating independently of each other. The National Space Program is okay. NASA's okay right now. They're not. I wouldn't call it super strong. I would call the Apollo program super strong. NASA can't launch astronauts into space. Seriously, they need SpaceX to do it. And maybe in the future Boeing. Maybe. No, in the future Boeing as well. Yeah, Kyron, I don't think I like that either. Isn't that conflating launch services with scientific missions, though? Yes, it is, Entropy. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's what I'm trying to tell you. They're two different things. That's why you need NASA and you also need SpaceX. Each one of them has to have a healthy space program because it's not the same. It's not the same thing. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Yes. That's precisely the point. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Now, going back to what Idez was saying, do you think NASA would have just given up on any future launching if Commercial Crew didn't work out? Look, all right, this is going to be a super unpopular opinion. Is Commercial Crew successful? Is Commercial Crew successful in spite or despite of SpaceX? Meaning, is Commercial Crew successful because SpaceX exists? Or is Commercial Crew successful because it is a good idea? Because it was a good way to do things? So, like if that didn't make any sense, think about it like this. What if NASA chose Sierra Nevada and Boeing to launch people to the space station and said, nah, SpaceX pounds sand, we don't need you? Would Commercial Crew be a success? Like, is Commercial Crew successful? Because SpaceX is an anomaly, dude. What Elon does is fantastic, and like I said, I'm not trying to dump on SpaceX. I love them. I love that company. Elon Musk is like one of my personal heroes because he's given us the means to allow to even have these conversations, man. Like I cannot sit here and say with a straight face that this stream would be as successful as it is if SpaceX didn't exist, because that's just not true. So, in a way, Elon has helped me become more successful in what I do. Straight up, SpaceX. That guy is my hero. Like, so. Yes, but delayed. So, Sawyer, how would it have been if SpaceX wasn't part of the Commercial Crew program? It would be delayed, right? Because Starliners are getting delayed, and all spacecraft have teething problems. And the cost is going up. So, what was the point of doing that? Why didn't we just keep going with Ares 1 then? If it was going to all this just seemingly does is waste a lot of time and spend a little less money instead of, wasting less time and spending a little bit more money. Doesn't that mean that money and time are correlative regardless? See what I'm talking about? They cited Ares 1 to not fly anymore because it was going to be too expensive and it would have been too costly, right? And then some people think it wasn't safe, but I don't think that any rocket would get past NASA's review and get signed off on if they didn't think it wasn't safe. Space shuttle notwithstanding. But Ares 1 was made after the space shuttle, so they definitely knew. So there's no way it would have. There's no way that is how that would have panned out. That makes no sense. So you're telling me that Ares 1 would have been, the cost would have gone up and it would have taken less time. And Commercial Crew, the cost went down, but it takes more time. It even took SpaceX at the light speed that they go at. It took them 6 years to get a capsule, and that was having prior research with the Dragon 1 capsule before that. So if you look at the whole scope of SpaceX's capsule capability, they first launched a capsule in 2010, and they first launched people in 2020, so it took them 10 years. About as fast as the Apollo program put people on the moon. So that means money's correlated with time. So that means commercial doesn't, that doesn't matter. Am I looking at that right? And we all know Elon watches the stream. Luizo, straight up, like, I don't mean to sit here and just jerk his chain all day. That guy's one of my personal heroes, dude. I look up to him a lot. It is true. If SpaceX didn't exist, we'd be on the tail of the next best thing, which would be better funded and more successful. Yeah, it's interesting. No one could calculate the monetary cost that came from accelerating technology and microtizing processors. Okay. Wait, like, what's the bearing on the conversation? I mean, you're right, but I'm failing to understand how that equates now. The standards are different now. In what regard, Novus? Of cost versus time? Sorry, I'm having like 3 or 4 different conversations. Yeah, Joker, for sure. Absolutely. As a result of NASA going to the moon and how many years it would have taken otherwise. Oh, okay. Yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah, you're right. Good call. So we should keep doing that. So we keep accelerating technology? No? Funny how that works. Yeah, Demon. Yeah. Novus, the standards are different now. Yeah, no, hold on. I'm trying to turn back in my mind what I was saying, and that would have prompted the standards are different. Is the standards different for, like, for what? Yeah, TJ. Yeah. I mean, actually, the post office is the running example that I use. Can you send a package via the post office, and can you send one via UPS? The post office is wholly government owned, and every country has a post office. But does that mean that private mail carriers don't exist? No. Packages come via UPS all the time, and FedEx, and if you're in Europe, DHL, and whatever package carrier you like. You know what I mean? And all that is just a logistical service, just moving mail around, right? Well, how is launching things into space not a logistical service? It's the same idea. At the end of the day, without stagnation, commercial crew doesn't exist. Had the U.S. made spaceflight and exploration a long-running priority, we wouldn't be having this debate. Yeah. We've got quite a few better technologies and insight into how they work. We know a lot more things that were unknown during the 50s. Absolutely. Once you know those things, you have to address them in designs. More engineering challenges equals more cost. Okay, so Novus, I have a question. By that logic, shouldn't there be like a stack of SLSs at Michoud right now, like 20 of them on the assembly line? Because I mean, I get it with Artemis 1, we gotta kind of relearn, you know, how to get our feet wet, right? Like you gotta relearn everything. Like, dude, don't get me wrong, I understand the engineering. SpaceX right now is just a ride there. Totally fine with me. NASA and ESA has to do a lot more things. Interesting. I don't know. At the end of the day, going back to it, guys, at the end of the day, going back to it, something doesn't sit right with me about that. About like something doesn't sit right with me about demolishing KSC HQ and replacing it with a, you know, the building that replaced it, right? Like, you know, demolishing the headquarters and replacing it with, you know, that's a cool building. Don't get me wrong. That's really neat. That's a nice looking building. Like, and then like the VAB and stuff like that and multi-user spaceports and stuff. Like, something doesn't sit right with me about that. I don't, and I'm not harping on the new building. That's cool. It's a cool looking building if you like PS5s. It literally looks like a freaking PlayStation with an Xbox standing next to it. But
hi, there's food here if you want it.
Oh boy, sweet. But it's so pretty. Chop the, yeah. So what I'm trying to say is, okay, like should NASA sell all their launch pads to SpaceX and just have SpaceX use them and then just say screw it? I don't think that, see, like, I don't like that. Something about that doesn't sit right with me. Why are you alone? I just wanted to change it up for the new year, Peg. A question, though. In biology and natural sciences, scientists use private companies to take them to the bottom of the ocean. It is a rideshare, but the scientists do research while they're there. Kamira, you're right. Absolutely. Let me put it to you like this. They're beholden to that private company to get to places like the Marianas Trench, the bottom of the ocean, right? You're beholden to the private company. You need the private company to get down there. Do you want a corporation? Even, like, and this kills me because I don't think SpaceX would ever do this, at least not while Elon's there. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't. But do you want a corporation having a monopoly on going to the moon? Because right now, even with the Artemis program, NASA can't land on the moon by themselves. Even with the fleshed out architecture with Lunar Starship, etc., etc. NASA can't land on the moon without SpaceX. SpaceX can put people on the moon by themselves. Well, at least planned, right? If Starship does its thing, right? See what I'm talking about? No, you're still having to spool up the factory. You've also got mostly clean sheet design for the core stage. And with that comes a lot of issues to be solved in development. Yeah, no doubt, Novus. I precursed this conversation. Like I said, dude, I'm not ignorant to the engineering. You've taught me a lot in that regard. I know what it takes. I get, well, actually, the right way to say that is I don't know what it takes, and that's why, and I acknowledge that I have no idea how complicated this is. So I understand, like, I get it. And what I said right after that is SLS has a lot of scalability planned into the design from the outset, which is cool. Yeah. But still, you only have one freaking pad, man. But without Grumman, NASA couldn't land on the moon either? Yeah, Chop, come here. That's what I'm getting at, dude. That's why NASA needs to exist. It needs to exist, and NASA needs to have their own way. I mean, yeah, one could make the point that without Grumman, NASA couldn't land on the moon by themselves either. But Grumman didn't operate the lunar lander; they just built it for NASA. So that would be like me buying a car and the manufacturer having to drive me anywhere. Like if I bought a Ford, right? The representative from Ford would come out and drive me to the grocery store. As opposed to me buying the car and then driving it myself. See what I'm talking about? Which one of those sounds less expensive in the long run? See what I mean? And I'm trying to hone in on what doesn't feel right, but Yeah, oh no. Yeah, I don't want that. That's why anytime someone says, oh, NASA should just hitch a ride with SpaceX, I call them a nutcase. That would be awesome, though, but it would be way more expensive. So, going back to that point, is Commercial Crew going to end up... It may have saved us money in the short term, but what about the long term?
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Seems good to have both for sure. If we're really serious about going out into space and extending our dexterity around the solar system, at least in our lifetimes, there needs to be redundancy, and not just having commercial partner redundancy, because that's still two commercial partners. You need to have a public space program, so something like NASA, but you also need to have commercial at the same time. So commercial competes against each other, and NASA sets the price, which is exactly the kind of crucible in which Commercial Crew was forged. Because Commercial Crew was birthed out of the idea that the space shuttle was too expensive, and we needed to find a way to do it cheaper, and commercial companies can do it cheaper. But in switching to that kind of model, NASA surrendered its low Earth orbit access capability. Yeah, Penta, in some ways, yes. Would SpaceX be anywhere near where they are now if it wasn't for Commercial Crew? Entropy, my guess is that without Commercial Crew money, SpaceX would be about, 2 to 3 years behind of where they are now. In 2022, we would be basically rolling out Block 5 right now. That's just a very, very shooting from the hip estimate, but that sounds about right. Yeah, it's just an interesting thought process. And guys, I'll be honest, I'm trying to prove a couple of different points. Like, there needs to be a redundant space program. NASA needs to do their thing, SpaceX needs to do their thing, and then they should work together on things, which is pretty much what Artemis is. So, but I think NASA should have an end-to-end solution to the surface of the moon, and SpaceX should have an end-to-end architecture from Earth to the surface of the moon. You know? But yeah, it's kind of... I don't know. I'm trying to talk myself through why pawning off the VAB doesn't seem right. And even now, releasing 39A to SpaceX still doesn't seem... it's cool, but something about that doesn't sit right in my mind. And it's nothing against SpaceX either. I'm absolutely barking up NASA's tree in that regard. But I think it's better that I might have to deal with a commercial instead of commercial having totally free reigns. I'm looking at you, and yeah, Chimera. Yeah, I get it. You're citing it as a point, but yeah, let's not open up that can of worms. I mean, Falcon 9 would probably be about the same. I feel like Crew rating Dragon is the big step towards getting Starship flying crew, which is crucial to SpaceX's core mission. Yeah, we wouldn't be where we are. Dragon 2 wouldn't be operational, or would be close to being operational right now. But at the end of the day, like, I can't help but think, like, if the post office buys a mail van from Chevy or something, right? Does that mean they need someone from GM to drive them around everywhere every time they need to deliver mail? That doesn't sound very economically sustainable in the long run, especially considering that spaceflight is a logistical service just like moving mail is. Interesting. But does that mean that Chevy couldn't, be contracted to deliver mail by themselves if they wanted to? Well, yeah, sure, they'd probably do it if there was money in it. But the money in it comes from NASA by themselves. Interesting conundrum. Hey, Simcopter, having a nice lurk. Thanks for streaming. Hey, thanks, man. Yeah, no, Simcopter, every once in a while, I'll take a space news where I just kind of turn, like, I turn stuff on its side, Everybody widely regarded that, giving SpaceX 39A would put 39A to good use, but is that going to be a problem in the long run if NASA wants to be competitive with SpaceX? You have one rocket launch pad. What if a rocket fails on that pad? That's going to delay your lunar program big time. That's why they built 2 pads during the Apollo program. Actually, they were supposed to build 4, but they only ended up building 2. Yeah, this is great. I appreciate you explaining all this stuff out loud. It's pretty beyond me, so happy to learn. Oh, yeah. No, yeah, Sim, I geeked the frick out with this stuff, man. This is something that, yeah, I take very seriously, and I'm super, super into it, In all fairness, it takes a bit more skill to launch a rocket than it does to drive a mail truck. Yeah, Rogue, that argument could be made. That's fair. But at one point, that wasn't the case. Not with rockets. At one point, a mail truck was an absurd thing. The mail delivered by an automobile? What are you, crazy? I'll just use the horse. See what I mean? That's what I'm talking about. NASA needs to be able to push the envelope, dude. They have to do that. That's super important. NASA's not a competitor. You're right, Baxhawk. They're an innovator. You need to let them take the reins off and just go let them have a healthy and robust lunar program, Like any other thing is a disservice to NASA. Crew Dragon is fully auto. Yeah, more shots. That's a good point. Yeah. Interesting thing, huh? Yeah, we should come up with a name for these deep thought exercises. Question. The space shuttle program in that state, that was head up by NASA, right? Yeah. The space shuttle was wholly owned and operated by NASA. They bought it from Rockwell. Rockwell was a commercial company, and they bought it like the government would procure any other vehicle. Same idea. Well, that was a great adventure. It was extremely expensive, and all we got was low Earth orbit. Well, Chimera, when you ask for a semi-truck and, they give you a semi-truck, and then you think driving that semi-truck is too dangerous, so you start going camping in said semi-truck, of course it's going to be more expensive. Big rigs are designed to haul. Like, I'm talking about, like cars and trucks. Space shuttle's a space truck. Everybody says that. If NASA starts to use it like a camper, like an RV, you're going to end up, of course it's going to be expensive. You don't go camping in a semi. That doesn't make any sense. It's way more expensive to operate than an RV is. Right? You don't go up in the mountains and go to the campsite and see some guy camping out in an RV. Not in an RV, in a semi-truck. That doesn't make any sense. That's designed for logistics. That's what the space shuttle was designed for. But after Challenger, we started ramping down launches, not up. And NASA started using the thing like a camper. Yeah, of course it's going to end up being expensive. And I don't mean to be mean there. I hope you get that. I'm just trying to constructively add to the discussion. Well, of course, Chimera. I'm not getting upset. Are you getting upset? I'm only getting upset because NASA isn't launching more rockets. That's the only thing that's pissing me off here. That's what spurred this whole conversation. Yeah, no, dude, I'm with you. I don't... No. No. No, I'm not getting mad. I'm good. I am offended. No, I'm fine. All right, cool. Yeah, no, we're good, man. Just healthy conversations, just mind exercises and stuff. I don't know. If NASA's an innovator, but they get out-innovated by the industry for heavy launch, then why dedicate so much funding to their own launch vehicle? That's a good question, Entropy. Why do that? Because of what you said. NASA's goals and SpaceX's goals are not the same. That's literally putting a price on science. If you do that, that's why I hate it every time when someone says, "Oh, SLS is too expensive." I can look at one number and I can look at another number and say that the number that's lower is the better idea. Because NASA has a totally different goal than what SpaceX does, right? That's like saying, that one is 10, that car goes 10,000 miles an hour, and that car over there goes 16,000 kilometers an hour. Well, that number's that number's better. 16,000 kilometers an hour is better because it's higher than 10,000 miles an hour. It's better. Those are the same thing. But you're using two different measurements of units, right? Because 1 mile an hour is 1.6 kilometers an hour, right? Like, good. You can do basic math. Yeah, you can see that one number is higher than another number. See what I mean? How dare you make sense? Yeah, propane and propane accessories. SpaceX is creating the lunar lander Starship. Imagine watching that land on the moon. And Elijah, I want to precursor this with say that I am in no way barking up SpaceX's tree. If NASA's going to give SpaceX more contracts and SpaceX going to land people on the moon, so be it. So be it. My question is, how sustainable is that? Having one company or one entity, singular, with the avenue to get to the moon. With that being said, SpaceX should not take their foot off the gas pedal. If that's how it's going to pan out, that's going to be how it pan out. It's just you're improving your odds of successfully progressing the species and making life multiplanetary if we have more entities going about that problem, public and private. Do I look like I know what an SLS is? All I want is a picture of a gosh dang starship. Mm-hmm. The problem comes with government projects is they're usually more expensive for a long time. This built-in bureaucracy is seldom effective. However, the opposite exists inside of the commercial part. So if commercial is so much faster than the government program Chimera, why does the Apollo program, how did the Apollo program happen? It's not one or the other, dude. You need both. You need both of those things. Hey, Louie, what's up, man? Just because NASA chose SpaceX does not mean that other landers won't land on the moon. Can't private companies make their own? Sure. Who? There's bound to be a number of companies for sure over time. So, okay, so we have a bunch of private companies that can get to the moon. So that means NASA's still beholden to a corporation to get astronauts to a moon base. Can we just give NASA the correct amount of money and full send SLS and call it a day? That's what I wanted to hear. Yeah, see, Vulcan, that's what I mean. You know, we've already paid for the VAB multiple times over. Let's Frickin' use it. And you know what? Like, to be fair, that seems like that's what NASA's trying to go towards. NASA's trying to really get going with SLS, and I do appreciate it. It's just, yeah. There were decisions that were made in the past that are going to end up bottlenecking NASA on purpose. Like having one pad, you know? Hey, Moist, what's going on? Doing great in another day in paradise. How you doing? Oh, I'm just living the dream over here, Louie. Yeah, good conversations, dude. You think SpaceX will launch some kind of camera to the moon to get engineering footage from Starship landings? Oh, the thing's going to be kitted out with cameras like you would not believe, Nora. Absolutely. Speaking of which, did you see that there was legislation to push forward the EU West to Artemis 3? Yeah, actually, that's how I was going to end this discussion about SLS. It seems like that's what NASA wants to do at the end of the day. Yeah, there you go, Synerd. Yeah, we covered this kind of quickly yesterday, but check it out. This is coming from Thomas Berghardt over at NASA Spaceflight. A new bill calls for, among other things, the exploration upper stage to fly for the first time on Artemis 3 rather than Artemis 4. Meanwhile, there is a surprising lack of discussion about the fact that NASA plans to debut a brand new upper stage on a crewed mission. First of all, this is primary thing for people on the moon. Probably more important than most things in the U.S. in the 60s. So for once, they were given lots of money. And to be honest, I feel like NASA actually acted like a very efficient commercial company. Let's do it. And then they did it. And after that, the moon was no longer interesting enough. But we still footed the bill for all those facilities to do it, Chimera. That's the point that I'm trying to make. You already paid for it. Can we use the equipment, please? You're right. Right? Can we... Reading is good. Can we start the story now? Let's just set up a Patreon for NASA. NASA can't accept donations. They're not a charity. It is. It's actually against the law, which is annoying. But yeah. EJ, this wind is wild, dude. I heard it. I can hear it outside, yeah. Turn the fans on. It's getting kind of warm in here. But yeah, no, good conversation, guys. Like, and at the end of the day, dudes, so, you know, that news notwithstanding, I think the SLS program is fine. It's fine the way it is right now. It's good enough. It's going to need to be more comprehensive later, but they're doing that. It's just going to take some time. The question is, why the frick weren't we doing it earlier? Like, doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this stuff out, right? Like, well, yeah, I mean, you get what I'm trying to say. So, I think the SLS program's great. But I also think that Starship's great. I want more rockets because that's the way forward. More rockets, public and private. That and at the end of the day, I guess, not to dilute my own argument, but I will always advocate for more spaceships, and I might be a little biased in that regard. Oops. Can you blame me? Can you blame me? Hey, Maverick, thanks for the bits, dude. I appreciate it. Hey, Nucleotron, what's up? They should at least turn their ads on. Yeah, right. But this tweet right here is the problem with NASA. Legislators are calling for technological things with no full understanding of technological things. Yeah. And let's see. Huh. Neat photo of the VAB under construction. Yeah. Yeah, see? That's cool. See, there's your 4 high bays right there. It's designed to build 4 Saturn V's all at once. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then there's the launcher. This whole freaking thing goes in here. And they build the rocket in there. SLS is being built in this bay right here. What a beast. Look at all the VAB prefab segments. It's just like the high bay at Boca Chica. Same thing. They built all the high bay segments right there on the crawlerway and installed them right in there. Damn, that's cool. Look at all of it. Oh, that's so legit, man. So these are the high bay segments for configuring the rocket. So you have the structural components, and then you have the service gantries for the vehicle. The service gantries are basically catwalks that can move forward and back and get you near the rocket so you can put it together. These things right there are that's the high bay service gantries. They're built right there. That's a really awesome picture. Yeah, I'll save that one. I'll save that one in my Saturn research pictures. Awesome picture. Yeah, Entropy, that's what I'm worried about, dude. And that's why I say, let's put this equipment to work, man. NASA has to be competitive with SpaceX. You really don't have a choice now. She's a beast, Tycon. We paid for all of this. We should be using it. It's a freaking beast, man. Oh, it's so cool. Nothing like an assembly line. This looks like Boca Chica, though. Doesn't this look like, if you put an RGB aerial picture right here and then colorize this picture, that it could look like Boca Chica? Here, look. Here. Let me see if RGB has one of his wide pictures on here. See what I mean? Were there ever 4 Saturn V's in the VAB at once? Yeah, but not being assembled, Hip. At one point, the VAB's transfer aisle, which is the huge hallway right here, the transfer aisle goes back into here. So they'd bring the stages in right here, and they'd process them right here, which is where the SLS core stage was processed, to be fair. And then, once they were ready to go, to be stacked, they'd put them in the transfer aisle, which is why it's called the transfer aisle. And then, from there, they'd lift them up, and there's a gantry crane that goes across here and across there, right? And they'd lift the thing up, the gantry crane would move in, and they'd put it there. Put it on whatever vehicle. There were, in pieces, in 1969, there were pretty much 4 Saturn V's ready to, like, not ready to go, but in various states of completion in that building. Whoa! Amir, you sent the message twice. Yeah, blackness for sure. Most being assembled at once was 3, due to them not being able to fit the 4th S1C inside while the other stages were being stacked. Yeah, in 69 Vulcan, which is pretty rad. Yeah, Chimera, long story short is it's symbiotic. They work off of each other. Commercial private space programs can't exist without NASA. And NASA has proved to not get very far unless they have, NASA's been proven to stagnate when they're only competing against other governments. So the way forward is divergent paths for NASA and SpaceX, even though they're both launching rockets. Good call. I posted it earlier, but you got distracted by the VAB, as I would too. But I finally uploaded the remote camera footage for the Transporter 3 launch. Yeah, we'll check that out. Since that building is modular, how tall could the VAB get? You could double the height of it, Taco. It'd be fine. Last pulls. Think of the VAB as something like a V8 engine with only 2 cylinders attached to the crankshaft. Correct. Correct, Shady. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, there's all kinds of good stuff on NASA's website of the VAB being put together. It's really, really cool. But like I said, it freaking looks like Boca Chica. It looks exactly the same, which is kind of crazy. Like, look, man, that looks almost the same. Like, same energy, man. Nah. Soon. This will all coalesce in another couple of years. and NASA will inevitably do what I think they're going to do. I mean, this is a pretty good example. You know, a new bill calls for, amongst other things, the exploration upper stage to fly for the first time on Artemis 3 rather than Artemis 4. Meanwhile, there's a surprising lack of discussion about the fact that NASA plans to debut a brand new upper stage on a crewed mission. Look at the astrofairing on the upcoming launch. Oh, John had a nice picture. Maverick, that's not the point that I'm trying to make. Don't get confused. This is a very good indication of the thing that I'm trying to describe working to our advantage. Do you think that NASA was just happy to have astronauts being sent from U.S. soil? That was good enough. At least we don't have to use Russia every time. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that was definitely a good day, that's for sure, if that's what you're asking. Maverick, I mean, you know, we say bureaucrats are ruining NASA. Bureaucrats created NASA. I don't think that's that's not what I'm trying to say. See what I'm talking? See what I mean? That's not what I'm trying to say at all. Do you know what the Higgs field is? Vaguely, Hija? Higgs boson stuff, so like that's theoretical things. I'm not too familiar with it. I deal with practical orbital mechanics. Hell Hydra, you got that vibe too, huh? Okay. I mean, Thomas has got a point, dude. Like, there's a surprising lack of discussion about the fact that NASA plans to debut a brand new upper stage on a crewed mission. I have to read this act. I haven't had time to read it. Here, let's take a look. So, who's Randy Weber? 14th Congressional District of Texas. Okay. This is his web page. Leadership in Space Act. Okay, where can I read this? Read the full text here. Thank you. All right, let's take a look. Let's take a look. All right, turn the page, guys. Next thing. So, not the VAB construction. Back this out. There's got to be a reason. So, a new bill calls for, amongst other things, the exploration upper stage. So the exploration upper stage is the stage that SLS should have had from the start, basically. I'm wondering, when you see something like this with spaceflight stuff, especially with spaceflight legislation that doesn't make sense, there's usually a really good reason why. Let's jump in. Not the OIG report. Let's... Authorization of appropriations. Artemis 4 is going to be a crew mission, so how does that make it a difference? That's the first mission that brings us back to the moon, Ryan. But yeah, that's a good point. Like, hey, Kazak, welcome back. Thomas, you said you honestly see no issue with it. It's not like the engine being used on it is new since it's the RL-10. Yeah. Yeah, Yeah, Hell Hydra. Yeah, no. Yeah, man. That's why I debunked that crap right away. Like, that's why I said, like, nah, that's not what's going on. Because that's not what's going on. Right? Like, that was strange. And Thomas does have a point. Okay, so, Ryan, you actually bring up a very good point. That's a really good thing to understand. Okay, so, we want to fly the EUS on Artemis 3 with people aboard for the first time with the stage never flown into space prior. Right? Sometime in the late 2020s, Elijah, from what I understand. So what's the right time to do this? That's my question. What's the right time then? And that's actually a question. I'm not trying to be rhetorical. If you were in charge of NASA, guys, SLS needs that upper stage. It is not sustainable with that puny little Delta IV stage on top of it. That's like... That'd be like having a big rigging, having like a semi-truck and putting a Prius engine in it. And saying, yep, this is a great launch vehicle. Okay. Don't be dissing Delta IV in front of you. I'm not, Vulcan. It's a puny Delta IV stage on top of SLS. But there's a reason why we call it a Delta IV upper stage. It's not an SLS upper stage, is it? It was good for the application of a Delta IV. And Delta IV is my... Still to this day, my favorite expendable launch vehicle. I like it better than I like Atlas. Screw me, right? As soon as possible. Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. I was going to say, man, we're on the same team here. I don't know, Taco. Hopefully. How will Artemis land on the moon without Gateway? They just rendezvous where Gateway should be. The ICPS would have been better as a kick stage on the EUS. Fact. Okay, international question here. Why is it important that the US goes to the moon? Because NASA's job is to improve the human condition through scientific progress in the applications of spaceflight. That's literally what they're here to do. That's why they exist. Somebody would bill it as a priority for national security, but they just do that to get money. They just do that because it's a good selling point, not necessarily the selling point. You don't buy a car because it has power windows in it. You buy it because you like the car. Would this ever be better and more efficient and all the other things if more countries associated were involved? International cooperation is better. Yeah, that's fine. I look at the ISS. The ISS is super sustainable. Why? Because everybody works together. Governments working together? Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. No, that's the right way. We should do that. From here on out, every mission is going to be crewed. So, to this point, it should never be launched because it will be testing the EUS. Ryan, you basically hit the nail on the head. You said what I was going to say. So what's a good time to put the EUS on top of it? Correct, Entropy. And it's not like NASA won't have data on the EUS tanks either, since it's basically SLS tanking. Yeah, so... Well, I mean, you guys are saying that, you know... Oh, it should be good for Artemis 3. Well, okay, so if you were running NASA, what mission would you put it on there? Would you put it on Artemis 4? Ryan, you hit the nail on the head. Artemis 4 is going to fly people for the first time. Or not for the first time. Artemis 4 is going to be people flying on the EUS for the first time, so... yeah, that's not, I don't really understand why that's a problem. If I were running NASA, I'd put it on VTOL. You're not Akabidi. Akabidi hates VTOLs. Bring the real Akabidi back. Will the EUS have a payload on Artemis 3? Well, yeah, people and a gateway component. Well, no, probably just people, but now you have the capability of bringing out another module. My only question is how much, if at all, would it delay Artemis 3? They already delayed it, AJ. Who cares? Who cares? Already delayed it. Tell me you can't green run an upper stage in the 5 years till Artemis 3? Well, not 5. 2026. 4 years? 4 years is enough to build an upper stage. Sure, why not? Especially since the propulsion for it already exists. And the tooling for it already exists too. Ares 4. Ew. Ew. I don't know what you're talking about. I, at Akabidi, have always loved the VTOL. No, bring Akabidi back. You're not the real Akabidi. That's not you. Where's Akabidi? Bring him back. I want him back. The right thing would be to put it on its own test mission, but we can't do that due to funding and timeline. Hell, Hydra, didn't I? That's what I mean. I literally just got through saying that, you know, the way SLS is set up is good for the short term, but you're going to need to change a lot of things for the long term. So, right? Like, the better to do it sooner rather than later. I mean, if it was up to me, I think that it should have launched with the EUS from the start. Putting the Delta IV upper stage on there was a huge waste of time. Yeah, waste of time and money. Is it that much? Would it have been that much more expensive per year to develop the EUS and launch that on Artemis 1? I don't think so. No way. Unless I'm missing a key thing here. Bringing the EUS up to Artemis 3 may change the scope of Artemis 3, which may delay it more. Yeah, AJ. Yeah, that's right. But that means that down the road, you'd have better configurations of the vehicle. Could Ariane rockets lift crew to the moon? No. No, not even close. No, no. Trying to use an Ariane rocket to get people to the moon would be like trying to fly a Cessna across the Atlantic Ocean. The only way you could do it is if you had some kind of in-flight refueling, or the Cessna was doing island hopping and refueling at each island, island being a space station with a fuel depot on it. It's easier to just build a bigger rocket, right now at least. Ariane 6? No. No. They're already making the launch vehicle stage adapter and ICPS for Artemis 3, though. Why pull it forward one mission unless you also want to pull the IHAB mission forward one mission? Yeah, that's a good point, Thomas. You're already manufacturing flight hardware for it. You might as well. Good call. That's the best argument I've heard in favor of not doing that. Thanks for the answers. I actually had no idea how powerful it was. Yeah. Yeah, Chimera. Ariane 5 and 6 are good rockets, but they're rockets that are designed to put satellites in geostationary orbit. SLS is designed to get people to the moon. With the EUS on top of it. Should put an asterisk on that. Actually, I think you're missing one, and that's the tooling for the EUS. This was covered in the past 2 years, whereas the tooling for the core stage was in the years prior. It didn't save money, but it made it look like it did. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Correct, Vulcan. Yep, yep. I just want boots on the moon ASAP. Change scares you. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting thoughts. Interesting topics today, guys. I like this. This is good. Join the middle of the combo. What is EUS? The exploration upper stage. It's a bigger upper stage for SLS. Because right now, SLS in its Block 1 configuration has a very, very underperforming upper stage. Meaning that SLS in the Block 1 configuration with the interim cryogenic propulsion stage on the top of it would be like having a Falcon Heavy with a Falcon 1 with a Falcon 1 upper stage for an upper stage. Yeah, it's not... That's not a good idea. Yeah. Great performance in the first stage. Terrible performance in the second stage, comparatively to what you could put up there. In fact, every time that SLS launches in the Block 1 configuration, we're losing an insane amount of capability. Yeah, here's a picture of the EUS. Yeah, thank you. I'll show you a picture. That's a good render. Always a good one. Here you go. Here you go. Here you go there, bud. Yeah, it's got 4 RL-10 engines. It's basically a SLS-sized Delta IV upper stage. It's way bigger. Full vehicle? Oh. Thank you, Vulcan. Thank you, Daddy. There you go. Yep. Much better performing upper stage, to be honest with you. Yeah, that's what SLS should have been from the start, right there. That would have been the good idea. Cooler Uprising. I'm just not a big believer in NASA building rockets. Were you here before when I was talking about why that's probably a better idea in the long run? I had a whole thing on that earlier a little while ago. Yeah, check it out. Jump back in the VOD a little bit if you feel like it. If not, yeah, whatever. I mean, think whatever you want, dude. That's cool. You talked about SLS launching 4 times a year. By what year do you think this can happen if Artemis 3 is happening in 2026? End of the decade, Ryan. Best case scenario. Probably sometime in the 2030s. Don't bring up Ariane 5's human rated capability, Deadbringer. Thomas will get really sad. Oh, yep, he already did. Why does the Lunar Gateway need propulsion if it acts as a moon space station? Because it's a prototype transfer vehicle to get us to Mars, Vixit. Think of it as sea trials for a ship, for a prototype battleship or something. Park it out at the moon. And part of that is propulsion systems. Station keeping as well, obviously. Yeah. You need little thrusters on it. Even the ISS has little thrusters. It has a power and propulsion element. The ISS has that as well. The ISS is a spaceship. It can fly by itself. The Zvezda module, the Russian module, it has thrusters on it. It has engines. They're small, and it's just designed to move the ISS out of the way. But Gateway's the same idea. What happened to all the people in Mission Control? I wanted to change it up. That's the less for the U.S. Hey, 100 years. Yeah, man. Dude, look at that thing. I tell you, man. I want that, dude. This is what I mean. We should put this thing to work right now. And it's funny because in that regard, I kind of agree with the guy. Not so much this. Get this thing rolling. Even if we have to do an unmanned test flight with the EUS, fine, whatever. ML2 construction should go into full swing for that this year. Yeah. Second mobile launcher is half the battle, though, Vulcan. You got to get that second high bay working. High bay 3? That's configured for Block 1. Who cares? Get high bay 1 up and running for that. Launch Artemis 1, 2, and 3 using High Bay 3. Configure High Bay 1 for Block 1B. And then after Artemis 4, reconfigure High Bay 3 for that. And just keep using High Bay 1 then. High Bay 1 is already in the works. It just needs the floor panels. Good. Dude, you could do so much with this thing. That's such a good system right there. I actually am okay with it. Even though it uses space shuttle engines, I'm okay with that. That's fine. This is a good launch vehicle. It's really good. Really good design. So the Nova, yep. Yeah, Laserman, Saturn V V2. Yep. Hear me out, EJ. SLS Block 2, but with an additional Centaur on top. Well, that was one of Boeing's plans. That was one of Boeing's design studies for SLS. Dude, I don't even need Block 2 to have that, man. I mean, that could work. It'd be great. Can I have that made in Lego? Yeah, alright. Could SLS with the EUS get Orion into low lunar orbit? Orion needs a service module upgrade, Ryan. Yeah, it needs a huge upgrade to that service module. Yeah, Vulcan, right? Yeah. I drew up plans for a future neighborhood in the Minecraft server. I like that, Lunprod. Yeah, post that in the Minecraft Discord, dude. We should do that. Yeah, you should do that. Build that out, man. That's a good idea. Just post it in Minecraft, see if anybody has any objections. I think it's good. They planned a methane service module for the CEV back in the Constellation days, right? I don't ever recall that, Pigsig, but I don't know off the top of my head. Kind of want an EUS with a J2X. Yeah. Extremely high-res Explorer 1 footage. Wow, look at that thing. Yeah. I don't know. Here, let's see. I want to jump into this real quick. Okay, let's see what we can see here. Do we have a table of contents? Okay, so this is a draft for a bill, meaning this has not passed. I want to see what the plan is. Competitiveness within the human landing system. Section 201 is competitiveness within the human landing system program. Okay. Section 202, space launch system configurations. Yeah, that's where we probably want to go and look. Section 203, advanced spacesuits. Uh-oh. Interesting, Thomas. If we mitigate cryogenic boil-off, Ryan, it's possible. Yeah. Section 204, acquisition of domestic space transportation and logistics supply vehicles. 205 is rocket test stand infrastructure. Table of contents. Section 1, short title. Section 2, definitions. Title 1, authorization of appropriations. Section 101. All right, let's go digging. Let's see what we can find. Title 1, authorization of appropriations. They're authorized to be the administration for fiscal year 2021 as follows. Exploration, 6.7 bill. Space operations, 3.9 billion. 7.2 billion for science. 828 million for aeronautics. 1.2 billion for space technology. Cool. STEM, 120 million. Security, mission services, 2.9. For safety, security, and mission services, 2.9 billion. Okay. Construction and environmental compliance and restoration, 390 million. Inspector General, 44 million. Okay. Human spaceflight and exploration. Okay. Cat King, what's up, dude? 16-month resub. Competitiveness with the human landing system. It is a sense of Congress that the development of technologies that enable human exploration of lunar surface and other celestial bodies. Commercial entities in the United States have made significant investment in progress towards the development of human-class lunar landers. Basically, this thing calls for more than one lunar lander. Hey, Andrew. It's going all right, man. How are you? Not later than 60 days after the date of the enactment of this division, the administrator shall maintain competitiveness within the Human Landing System program by funding, design, development, testing, and evaluation for no fewer than 2 lunar landing entities. Okay, I like that. That's pretty cool. More landers? Yeah, probably better. Probably would address some of those problems I mentioned previously. Oh. Okay, Vulcan, see what I'm seeing here? Space Launch System configurations. Mobile launcher platform. The administrator is authorized to maintain 2 operational mobile launch platforms to enable the launch of multiple configurations of SLS. EUS. To meet the capability requirements under Section 302C2 of the National Aeronautics and Space Administration Authorization Act of 2010, the administrator shall continue the development of the exploration upper stage for the Space Launch System with a scheduled availability sufficient for use on the third launch of SLS. No later than 90 days due to the date of enactment. The administrator shall brief appropriate committees on Congress at development and scheduled availability of the exploration upper stage for the third launch of the Space Launch System. Okay, so that's what we already knew. Main propulsion test article. To meet the requirements under Section 302C3 of the immediately completion of the first full duration integrated core stage test of the Space Launch System. Initiate development of a main propulsion test article for integrated core stage propulsion elements of the Space Launch System, consistent with cost and schedule constraints, particularly for long lead propulsion hardware needed for flight. What's with the odd color that they chose for SLS? It's orange because of the thermal insulative material on board, Chop. They basically think like a house has insulation to keep heat out, or if you're down south to keep the cold in. Yeah. For the rocket, that orange foam insulation that they spray on, it's called spray-on foam insulation, or SOFI, is what keeps the propellant. It helps bolster performance by keeping the propellants cold. The colder you can get the propellants, well, more performance you get out of the vehicle. Yep. That orange is not because somebody thought orange was a cool color. I mean, orange is alright. I like that. So they want a main propulsion test article so they can test fire engines in a core stage configuration before they put them on SLS, which is... Okay, all right. Idiot question. I've known about this main propulsion test article that they want to do. They want to do a main propulsion test article, which is basically the bottom of an SLS, right? And they want to use that on the test stand, right? And they want to use it to test engines on the test stand. My question is, why don't we just green run every core stage? Yep, repeated. There you go. Yeah, yep. More performance because less boil off. You got it. You can keep the colder you keep the propellants, the more performance you're going to get out of it. You got it, buddy. Interesting. Why don't we just green run every core stage? Just do the Piggly Wiggly test for every core stage. Wouldn't that be... I'm sure there's a good reason for it. And it might be just testing better propulsion systems, but who knows? Spacesuits. All right, let's see what the plan is for spacesuits in this bill. Because they want to do continuous upgrade paths, particularly with an engine to replace the RS-25 and not risk crew missions initially. Can I go back and read the MPTA stuff? For the integrated core stage propulsion elements, Space Launch System, consistent with cost and schedule constraints. Thanks, Hippo. Yeah, there's the A2 test stand for that, Ryan. Yes, they do. They're testing it right now. I love the swooshies. The swooshies look amazing. They should have kept those, Vulcan. It's a proposed Space Authorization Act by a representative out of Texas. I'm just looking through. It calls for ramping up Artemis Hellfish, basically. So, Vulcan, what do we think this MPTA is going to look like? Is it just going to be a core stage? Why don't we just make it a core stage? Yeah, if it's just a core stage, a test mule core stage, that's cool. I like that. Just like the MPTA from the shuttle was an external tank with the back of a shuttle attached to the bottom. Just throw it in the test stand permanently. Now, that I don't like. Vulcan, I disagree with that part. I think it would be a good idea to green run every core stage. Yes, it would be more expensive. I understand that. But that would be good. That would really put that B2 test stand to work. And you would be able to take the test mule stage out and put new engines on it and put it back in. Load it, unload it, you know? No, it should just be a test mule core stage. That's all. It should just be a core stage that never flies. Just like the MPTA from the shuttle program. The main propulsion test article for the shuttle program was... Here, take a look. And it was used on the B2 test stand. It is it's a real external tank with the engine section of a shuttle, and then a mass simulator to where the shuttle would be to hook onto the forward bipod strut. See what I mean? It's a real external tank. And what is SLS but what you see on the screen? The main propulsion test article should just be a test mule core stage that they could just pull off of the test stand. I don't think they're making enough of them to not test each article. Seems like a time and money saver. If you have I like the idea of a test mule core stage that they can barge back and forth between Michoud and Stennis to do more engine testing. That's actually a really good idea. That's a really good idea, actually. But also, you know what also is a good idea? Every single SLS core stage, throw that on the test stand. There's nothing wrong with having a developmental booster. That's a really good idea. The MPTA external tank is still around. It's in Huntsville. That's a real external tank on this thing. It's not just a mock-up. The shuttle is a mock-up, but the external tank is real. And part of that system found itself into the Shuttle C mock-up. That's correct. Shouldn't the test tank be something that won't fatigue out so quickly with cryogenic propellants? I suppose. Yeah, the MPTA is over there, I think. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, see, there's the main propulsion test article tank. That's on the dynamic test stand at Huntsville. Or no, that's not the MPTA one, but yeah. Yeah, the MPTA now, yeah, there it is. Yeah. Ugh. Hard picture to look at. Look at that thing. That's a real shuttle propulsion section. Yeah. I mean, Hellfish, I get what you're saying about the main propulsion test article core stage, but can't that thing be tanked like 30 or 40, no, what was it, like 20 times or something? Don't you think that would be enough for developmental flight? What are the pros and cons of the build thus far? I honestly really haven't seen many cons unless somebody else can kind of explain it. Oh, okay. One con is that they call for you putting the EUS on Artemis 3. And that is a good idea. And I would say that wouldn't be a con, except for the fact that there's Artemis 3 parts already in the production flow. So that doesn't really make a lot of sense. I don't like the idea of manufacturing flight hardware, then saying, nope, never mind, and then manufacturing something else. Even though that's not a bad idea. It probably is better for the EUS to fly on 4 because no production material has been made for 4. That's the one con that I have with this. It's better to use what you have already. Anyway, let's see what else we got. Advanced spacesuits. Okay. It is the sense of Congress that the next generation advanced spacesuits are a critical technology for human exploration and use of the moon and lunar space. The administrator shall establish a detailed plan for the development and manufacture of advanced spacesuits consistent with the deep space exploration goals and timetables of NASA. ISS use. Throughout the operational life of the ISS, the administrator should fully use the ISS for testing advanced spacesuits. Spacesuit technology partnerships to fully meet NASA's needs. Private entities. A real thing would be okay if you didn't want to test for all SLS launches. No, I think you're getting confused. The main propulsion test article should be used for new engine configuration development. So like if they roll out with an RS-25 G version, right? You can test them individually on the A2 test stand, but you're eventually going to need to test them all together. That's what you use the MPTA for. Yeah, you use it for testing a 4-engine configuration of RS-25Es or Fs or Gs or whatever. But also at the same time, if you're going to pay to keep that booster, the B2 test stand working, you might as well make that propulsion test article removable. And it's not going to cost that much more money to take every single SLS core stage with non-developmental boosters and put it on there and green run it before you send it to the Cape. That's a good idea. That's what they did with the Saturn V stages. And they learned a lot about the Saturn V. Guys, throughout its tenure, even though it was only, 20 Saturn Vs purchased, they already rolled out with Saturn V 1.1 by the end of the program. That's why the later missions for Apollo had rovers on them and the first ones didn't. Yeah, repeated. I'm not 100% on this one. The space program is the spacesuit program is a mess. It's just a mess. Because some bonehead last year decided to just basically delete the whole thing and start over. One of the stupidest things I've ever seen NASA do. Like, just stupid. Then make it a steel tank with a standardized attachment section for thrust plates. Kind of defeats the point, but okay. You poop head. They are, Chop. No, they were. Like I said, they basically deleted 14 years of research on spacesuits and said start over, which is literally they did. When did they do that? About a year ago? No. Like 10 months ago? So last year, yeah, somebody decided that no, we're going to start over. And they restructured the program to be more commercial friendly from the ground up, which is nice. Minimum mandated like 30 commercial entities working on one spacesuit. Yeah, if that's, yeah, okay. Yeah, you know, Chop, you know the stuff that I was talking about a second ago? This is the opposite of that. Yeah. We talked about the space shuttle in Huntsville for half a second, but it's cool to note that it did serve legitimate purposes in the space program. Yeah, Pathfinder. Of course. Anyway. Acquisition of domestic space transportation and logistics resupply services. That's more commercial crew stuff. Okay. Rocket engine test infrastructure. The administration carried out a program to modernize the rocket propulsion test infrastructure at NASA facilities. Okay. Yeah, Maverick, I know. Yeah, that's space news. When I shared that news, your boy EJ got a little pissed off. got a little mad. That's really dumb. Yeah, that was not smart. Yeah, no, that's not a good idea. So they want to upgrade the A2 test stand. Okay. Pearl River maintenance, value of ISS and low Earth orbit, and capabilities in low Earth orbit. Maintain a presence in low Earth orbit. Should be used as a test bed to advance human space exploration and scientific discoveries to advance human space exploration. Low Earth orbit should be used as a test bed to advance human space exploration and scientific discoveries to advance human space exploration, scientific discoveries, and commercial development. Nah, Ryan. Nah. You could, don't get me wrong, but go with what you know. 4 engines is fine. Like I said, NASA isn't SpaceX. They can't just make changes to the thrust plate like that. And if you do, it's better to do it in the early development stages of a rocket like what SpaceX is doing with Super Heavy. Yeah, you don't want... Yeah, no. Switching it to 5 right now would be a bad idea. Now, what wouldn't be a bad idea is using carbon composite SRBs, 5-segment carbon composite SRBs, instead of steel boosters. That would give you the extra kick that you need. That would be a really good vehicle. This thing with carbon fiber SRBs, which pretty much is what Block 2 is going to look like, you'd probably add a couple tons to the payload capacity because carbon fiber is lighter than steel and way stronger. Yeah, that's what I would do. Now, that's the 5-head move. Extension and modification to the ISS. Department of Defense activities on the ISS, because, of course, commercial development in low Earth orbit. Maintaining a national lab in space. I'm looking for stuff that's specifically pertaining to Artemis. ISS science property rights. Yeah, I'm going back to the table of contents. You mean this carbon composite SRB? Yeah, the ones that Northrop Grumman got paid by the Air Force to make. Yeah, they already exist. We should just throw those on SLS. They want to do that by Artemis 9. Nah, PDF isn't like that, dude. Yeah, Roblox, yeah. I know what you mean. No, that's the first actual BOLE SRB segment. Oh, joy! Oh, joy! They're already making them. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, something like that, Pop. Mm-hmm. Yeah, repeated. I don't know how I feel about extending the ISS to 2030. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. Anyway, there's the rest of that bill is mostly boring stuff, so yeah, interesting. Yeah, and that whole bill is based off of an OIG report basically saying that Artemis is totally fragmented. There's no overall overseeing thing to it, which I kind of agree with. Is the government not wanting to try something new instead? Extending the ISS to 2030 gives a nice handover period, though, for commercial stations to take over. Yeah. What mission is the Astrobotics lander slated for? One of Vulcan's first flights, if I'm remembering right, repeated. But do we really want space to be so commercialized? Low Earth orbit, Squidman, I don't mind. But I've always said, just going back to the conversation before, that NASA should maintain its own in-house low Earth orbit capability with the Orion capsule. You're going to need that later. Because are we going to build Mars transfer vehicles out at the moon? That doesn't make any sense. That's like saying I'm going to drive to Michigan so I can get to Florida. No, NASA's going to need to be able to put a capsule into low Earth orbit eventually if they're serious about building transfer vehicles that go to Mars in low Earth orbit, which they seem to be. You're going to need some way to get an Orion up there. And sending an SLS with an Orion on top of it just to get into low Earth orbit is a waste of time. Are you excited for James Webb Space Telescope's first pictures? Yeah, of course, Dragon. Absolutely. We're a little ways off, though. They got to cool down those mirrors. But yeah, oh yeah, definitely. What if we were mining and smelting metals on the moon? Okay, I mean, you got to fuel it too, Kizek. So what you're saying is go back to the moon and make a moon base first? Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's do your idea. Good call. I like that idea. We should do that. Yeah, Pigzig, I think that's what'll happen. Yeah, Vulcan Heavy with an Orion on top makes perfect sense in that regard. Yeah. Just paying somebody to put the Orion capsule, paying like ULA to put an Orion into low Earth orbit makes sense. I mean, however, in-house capability is is the key there, you know. What a strange game. The only way to win is not to play. Just finish War Games. It's such a good movie. You don't need to put the just finish War Games part, Flack, and you could just say that and I'd agree with you. Mr. Potato Head, Mr. Potato Head, back doors are not secrets. You already have the crew access arm there. Or you could just make another mobile launcher, Thomas. You know, like what was intended, like what we intended to do, and use SLS parts to make a low Earth orbit launch vehicle, like what was intended from the start. Why didn't we do that again? That dude is just the same kid in the Polar Express, right?
Wow, where'd you get this?
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks military. Definitely military. What are you doing? You're giving away our best tricks.
That's Mandark. Nah, Hellfish, I don't need to do it. You guys already know. ULA things from 39, page 9, and beyond. What? Wait a minute. Wait. What the frick? How old's this PDF, Thomas? How old is this PDF? How old is this? What year was this made? Hold on a second. Vulcan, I agree with you, though. Yeah, them taking the Block 1 mobile launcher, cutting the top off, and putting Vulcan on it instead, oh, Vulcan milk stool, dude. Vulcan milk stool. It uses a mobile launcher already. Oh, that could, yeah, you could hook that up. You just need to give 39B LNG. When was this made? It's from 2010. Yeah, okay. Huh. Crew access arm ended up being on the other side, but yeah. Oh, come on. That would have been awesome. Oh, hey, that kind of happened. Yeah, the Slick 37B crew access tower. Cool. I frigging wish, man. That would have been really neat. I actually really like that first proposal. That first proposal, but with Vulcan, would be that's a really awesome idea. This one, the little mini ML. That's a really good idea. Were you here the other day when Loopy showed Slick 37 in the AB setup for Delta 4? Yeah, I frickin' wish, dude. Can we still lobby to make SLS Block 2 an RS-68 powered vehicle? That'd be nice. Hey, Vulcan Heavy is just the SRB configuration, man. You could... Dude, you can milk... Like, why couldn't you... Here, hold on. So what they did during the Apollo program, guys, was... towards the end of the Apollo program, NASA wanted to be able to launch Saturn 1 and Saturn 5 from the same pad, okay? They wanted to be able to do that. So what did they come up with? They came up with an attachment for one of the mobile launchers. That attachment is called the Saturn 1B milk stool. Basically, because Saturn 5, Saturn 5's third stage and a Saturn 1B's second stage are literally the same thing, right? Because they're literally the same thing. The umbilicals, the top umbilicals on the tower here already line up with the Saturn 1B. All the umbilicals fit because it's the same upper stage, same vehicle stage adapters, same capsule, right? So, all they did was swap out some umbilicals down here, modify them for the vent lines for the Saturn 1B first stage, and then they put an adapter down here. They put an adapter down here called the milk stool to basically move the launch plate for the pad up a little bit so all the umbilicals lined up, because it was easier to make this than it was to move all the umbilicals around. What I'm saying is do this, but with Vulcan, and use the mobile launcher that NASA has SLS on right now, because that's not going to be able to work. The other version of SLS is with the better upper stage is too heavy. How is that easier? Because it's easier to make a truss structure VACSOC than it is to take apart all these fueling lines. Think about it. You got to start ripping things apart. If you want to put the umbilicals down here, you got to start changing the piping. Screw that. It's a waste of time. Just build this, and then just take some of the fuel lines that were right here, add some to the mobile launcher, and make the fuel lines go into the milk stool instead. See what I'm talking about? You should do that. It's a rocket high chair. Yep. There it is. The milk stool. It only saw 3 launches, which is annoying. Yeah, see, there it is. And then if you needed to, you could reconfigure it for the Saturn V. If you needed to. See what I mean? See last. The 1B with the milk stool never gets old. It's very cool. They should do that. Vulcan, that was a good idea. I think this could actually happen. With ML1 having a restricted life, it would in theory be able to be modified for Vulcan very quickly. Yeah, no, I was playing off what you said. That's a really good idea. That would be, I mean, the only downside is that you'd need to give 39B methane. You'd need to change some of the fueling paraphernalia on the pad, which, I mean, 39B has the has the bandwidth to be able to handle 2 different types of liquid fuels. Why? The Saturn V has a Kerolox first stage and Hydrolox second and third stages. So there's definitely infrastructure already on 39B to be able to support 2 different types of liquid fuels. And they could definitely support oxygen. That's no problem. That's a really good idea, Vulcan. Good theory, Kraft, man. That's really smart. Can you imagine a Vulcan on a milk stool using ML1 in the future? That would be really cool. No, not that one. I said milk stooling a Vulcan isn't a good idea. The Centaur and the ICPS use completely different umbilicals, so it would make more sense to do it at the base of the tower than up high. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Stillfire, that's actually a good point. Yeah, but you'd still want to retain the hydrogen fueling systems for other vehicles, but yeah. But no, modifying ML1 for Vulcan is a great idea. Here, I got another kick in the head, Vulcan. How about we take Omega's launch pad? Dude, I firmly believe that Northrop Grumman proposed that, knowing full well that they would be able to deliver an Orion capsule in the future. I think they built that in anticipation of a future NASA market. Because Vulcan, it still never made sense. Omega never made sense to me. Why are you using an entire mobile launcher to launch that little tiny rocket? That makes no sense. Every time I see that Starship gimbal gif, I want to make a clock out of it. That'd be awesome, Mutter. Did EJ see my last? I don't know. I think I saw a stool pigeon on there. Nice. Hey, Agent Smart. That's a 14-month resub. Thank you very much. Yeah, the rocket Piggly Wigglies are really cool, huh? Yeah. Yeah. Probably got a hella deal to use the VAB. Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, you could do this, Vulcan, I suppose. You could just chop ML1 in half and just put a Vulcan down there and just reconfigure the plate. I don't see why that wouldn't... I mean, that would probably take a while, but yeah, see? That, but with Vulcan, is not a bad idea. When the high-rise section on the server is plotted out, can I build 432 Park Avenue? Why do you want to build that thing? Why do you want to build that? Why do you want to build that? It still amazes me to this day that an architect drew this up and someone looked at it and said, yep, we're going to make that. Yep. Guys, hear me out. You've seen aesthetics. You've seen aesthetics like the Empire State Building, right? Like, we've seen that. We've seen that. That's cool. That's cool and all. Right? That's cool and all, but hear me out. Friday at 3 p.m. We need that proposal for a high-rise on Monday. Okay, quick, draw a box. But EJ, my modern art. Yeah, Mad Cobra, just because you choose minimalism as an avenue for your artistic license doesn't mean that it means putting in minimal effort. That's not what minimalism is. Minimalism does not mean putting in minimal effort. And believe me, I went to art school. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, that's not what that means at all. It's actually to get around stupid zoning laws. Now that I'd believe, Zonky, right? Hey, my curve tool in this architecture program isn't working. Say no more, man. I am almost ready, by the way. Cool. Okay, but because we got that building, I'm fairly sure that that's why they went back to the original plan design for 2 World Trade Center. Yeah, maybe. Vulcan, for the second World Trade Center, I have an idea. You should just make a copy of the other building. The first one that you made. No? Not original? I feel like that may have been done before. I just watched a video about that building. There's mechanical floors every few floors. What does that mean, Mateus? You know, like we have that really nice One World Trade Center building that we built, right? Mechanical floors every few floors. HVAC, like AC and heating. Oh. Alright. Most skyscrapers are like that. Am I wrong? Would you mind showing what you think the best example of a brutalist design is? Ha, Ando, trick question. There is none. You almost got me. Why is there one? Why isn't there one? It's Switch. It's my personal theory about brutalist architecture. I can't stand it. Yep, no living spaces. Gives them more total floors without breaking zoning laws for max number of floors for footprint size or something like that. So Zanku was right. Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, okay. That's why that building is a perfect square, because frick you and your zoning laws. Yep, okay. So that's a spite building. It's a spite building. Okay, got it. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's a spite skyscraper. Love it. That totally changed my opinion about that, by the way. That thing's hilarious. Build another one. To be honest, I kind of like the current 2 World Trade Center design. I mean, yeah, that's cool. But building another one of the building that you built right next to it would be kind of cool. Either that, I have another idea. And keep in mind, not an architect, right? Like, not an architect, all right? So, like, you know. Here, check this out. Let me go into Paint. I'll show you. So, see, you got that building there. You got that building. That looks nice. This is nice. This looks great. I really like it. Yeah. So, okay. So, you know, you have like a building over here, right? You have your other buildings. And then you built One World Trade Center, right? Hang on. You have your other buildings down here, you know, building like that. And then you built One World Trade Center. That's cool. I like that. That's nice. But maybe, you know, and then you have your other buildings right here. Buildings, right? Maybe it would be a cool idea if we built a bunch of other buildings like maybe we made another one that was like maybe half the size, like right here. Exact copy, just half the size, right? And then maybe another one like right here or something. No. Maybe that's too tall. Hang on. The other one, because you were talking about light, Vulcan, right? You don't want, you know, so the other buildings are going to have to be a little bit shorter. So maybe something like right here. And then over here, we build a tall and skinny one, kind of like that, right? And then over here, we build, this is where you can go crazy. You build like a diagonal building that kind of goes like this, right? Because, you know, we're artsy people. We like art, right? Right? And then maybe we add like a big window right here, and then a big window like right here, and then another big window right here on this, and then another big window there, and then another kind of window like that. you know, so like, okay, so we'd have like a small building like right here, and then another small building like here. It kind of looked like that, and then we, you know, you have your cool diagonal building on the side, and then you build the other building like what? Yeah, we probably. I think that's much more tasteful. Personally, I think it's a little more tasteful. Yeah, but what you said is good too. Well, yeah, no, that's good too. Yeah, and go something like that. The Rensen being a middle finger to Canada is my new headcanon. Holy balls, it is, repeated. You're totally not wrong. Screw you, Windsor! That just made my day, dude. That's hilarious. Oh my god, that's awesome. But yeah, no, that's good too, Vulcan. Yeah, I like it better my way, though. I do appreciate the unspoken implication of the fact that it would be facing New Jersey the way you drew it. Yeah. I suppose you're right. I mean, it kind of would be. Now, we might have to make it face another direction. Let's see.
Discovery, go and throttle up.
So Manhattan is, you know, right there, Air Force, right? Like, yeah, it is facing New Jersey. That's amazing. Be great. So, you know, right there, how about we, you know, like, they would need to be facing east. Actually, northeast. Like maybe like in this area right here. Like maybe this area. Yeah, see that? Yeah, see this is fine. Like yeah, like right there. Yeah, maybe like here even, or somewhere in between. You know, like yeah, right there. They would need to be facing that direction. So they'd need to be facing northeast. So facing Boston, yeah. No, not facing Boston, see? Goes by me. Yeah, see? No, not facing Boston. But that would be a very New York thing to do. Are you okay? No, I'm tired, man. There's a pun here, and I don't want to make it. What's that? Anyway, that was a joke. Just kidding. No, Mikey. No, Mikey. That is so not right. Can you imagine how much crap this guy got in high school? Can you imagine? This guy is probably like tough as nails super soldier. Can you imagine how much pain this man had to endure in high school? His name's Mike Crack. He's probably going to be a great team principal for sure. Right? Like, he's probably going to be amazing. Alright, anyway. Starship video to cap off Space News. Let's do it. And then after that, we do some racing. Your insults to him is like dust on a windshield. Yep. Your insults are like the buzzing of flies to him. So, this is our this is the NASA spaceflight footage here that we're able to review every day. Thanks to our buddies over at NASA Spaceflight. This video is shot by Boca Chica Gal Mary and Nick and Sweeney on the cameras. They're two photographers that are down there giving us daily content from Boca Chica. So make sure you go over there and support them by subscribing to NSF over on YouTube if you're feeling limber. Last stupid question. You're not stupid. Wait, aren't you forgetting the one non-Starship did? We will end Space News with that. Stupid question. The skyscraper roof's having a green cover. Is that copper? Yeah, it could be. Yeah, copper can do that. Probably as tough as a boy named Sue in the Johnny Cash song. SpongeBob didn't have it right. Everything wasn't chrome in the future. It was stainless steel. But they were close. Hey, Hosen, what's going on? Been a fairly slow week at Boca, honestly. Mainly just a few covers put on Booster 4 and Booster 3 finished scrapping.
Discovery, go on throttle up.
Thanks for the sub. Thanks for gifting the sub to Chambo. Appreciate it. Love you, man. Thank you, Hokie. I appreciate it. There's the new prefabricated segment
Discovery, go on
for the
throttle.
wide bay. Another one, Hokie? To Vaxhawk. Speaking of Elon owned and run companies, here's a Model Y diecasting set. Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. What's the name on that crawler? Rip. I don't know. On the SPMT, it's Fagioli. They manufacture heavy lift equipment. Footage is sped up enough to make them look like they're doing work. Yeah. Oh my goodness. All right. Okay. I always make it a thing to point out scale. You want to know how big this thing is? Look at the catwalk right there. Those handrails are 1 meter. That's 1 meter tall handrails. They're 3.3 feet. That's the standard for handrails. So that means a person is about double that height. Or is it 4-foot rails? I forget. Yeah, that is a huge piece of steel. Because of the way it is, weather guy. Yep. 4 foot, I reckon. 1 meter is too small. Yeah, so what's 4 feet in metric? Like 1.3 meters or something? Look at it. See? Look at the guy. There's a guy right there guiding the thing in with a tagline. See him up there? Holy crap, that little speck is a person. See? Oh my goodness. That thing is freaking huge, dude. They stacked the last corner of level 3 today.
Discovery, go on throttle.
Yeah, Super Fragger, it's big, isn't it? Hokie gifted us up to Hezwa. Hey, alright. Love you, man. Thank you very much, dude. I really appreciate it. Oh, that's so cool. What is the point of the metal girders on the outside? Brem, those are called flying buttresses. The inside of the building is hollow. So you got to support it somehow. You got to triangulate something somehow. So there's your triangulation. Hey, Kerbal King, 38-month resub. Anyone know what we're playing for racing tonight? It should be in the Discord brink, but Max, can you, if you're here, buddy, can you tell us what we're doing, what we're up to? We're doing historic races. Oh, yeah, that's right. Going retro. Pretty much, Chop. Yeah. But yeah, the inside of the building is hollow. So if you have a building like that, you've got to support it from the outside because the inside is like a hangar, right? So those pieces that are sticking out the side that are triangulated are called flying buttresses. But yeah, do it, Vulcan. Yeah, you're more than welcome to, dude. That's right. Yeah. That's right, Spectre. Same idea. I wonder what they're doing with this nose cone. Thomas, do we know what we're doing with... Do they know what they're doing with that thing? They know. Do we know what they're doing with that thing? That's the right sentence, EJ. That's an elevator. You can tell that it's an elevator. Scrap? Yep, okay. Did the building in the back break in that last clip? Let me see. It didn't look like it, but yeah. Parts you see are for the lightning tower? Those look like elevator parts to me. Rizzuto? Those are Z's. They look like R's to me. Bunt. B-U-N-T in perfect cursive. Any more brain busters? Yeah, that's pretty cool, but it's no Grumman F8F Bearcat. Yeah. Yeah, Marco. It's big, isn't it? Freaking huge, dude. Yeah, see? Flying buttresses. Yeah. Gotta support the building somehow. I thought 80-ton cranes were big. That Liebherr 1100 that they, or 11,000 that they have there repeated. The lattice crawler crane right there, beast. Beast mode of the crane. The Versabar that was delivered recently was used to lift and move one of the smaller tents today. Yep, see? He's jimmying the pieces into position. You can see it here. Yep, that's junk. Oh, yeah, okay, Thomas. Yeah, I see it. Seems like Elon is betting the farm that this is on this working. I think what he said regarding that's... I think what he said regarding that is that success is one of the likely outcomes of the Starship well, no, what did he say? He said that success is one of the potential outcomes for the Starship program. And he says that he sees success like, basically that's because Elon explains everything kind of weird. Like, he said that basically it's possible that they might get it done. It's very doable. They understand what they need to do to get it finished, which is cool. That's a good thing. Give me 1 second, guys. I gotta send out a quick message. Look at that thing, man. Repeated, I've always said that space, everybody 2018, 2017, I mean, I've been following SpaceX for a long time, dude. Everybody in 2018, 2017 said, oh, reusability doesn't make sense. They're not making any money off reuse. Profit wasn't the goal there. Equity in the company was. That's Elon Musk's style to a T. You didn't gain much, but you gained the knowledge. That's what's important. You gain the knowledge. You gain the knowledge base at your company through the Falcon 9 program to be able to make that. That's what makes the money. Right there. Or at least, hopefully. Smart. Very smart way to look at things. That's really smart. Putting equity in your employees at expense of profit for the company? Frick me, what a concept. I know, right? It's freaking weird. Sometimes renting it from NASA. Yep, that's right. Knowledge is power. That's right. That was the profit, dude. That was the profit. Not making reusability happen, but understanding what needs to be done to make reusability happen. That's what makes this project so damn good, man. It's like SpaceX's Falcon 9 was SpaceX's Gemini program. And this is SpaceX's Apollo program. Falcon 1 was the Mercury program. The parallels are there, which is cool. I mean, repeated, that probably has something to do with it too, but don't tell nobody. I mean, I think it's still more likely for SpaceX to fail than NASA would, right? I mean, even Elon Musk said at the beginning when he founded SpaceX, he said probable outcome was failure. So, yeah. Yeah, Vulcan. It was, yeah, like I said, I've attributed the Falcon 1 program to Mercury. Falcon 9 is Gemini. And Starship is Apollo, which is... Yep. Really hope that works. Are you taking KSP a hiatus? Yeah, I am, Hezwa. I'm just trying variety streaming. Just because. Yeah, first, like, self-imposed break from KSP on stream ever in, like, 8 years. Yeah, the holiday stress was kind of getting to me, dude. Mission mode was kind of... It was stressing me out. That coupled with the holidays, I needed to take a step back. But don't worry, Kerbal ain't going anywhere. I'm gonna jump back in. I'm already formulating new plans for how I can...
Go at throttle up.
For how I can change up mission mode to not make it suck. Yeah, as much. Yeah, that's all. People seem to have liked it, which is cool. Yeah. People seem to have enjoyed the variety streaming. I mean, there's some games that people don't like. I'm pretty sure people don't like Hearts of Iron, but I like playing it, so I'm going to keep doing it. This is at the very least semi-educational streaming right here, which I always like. Chop, this is a STEM stream, dude. STEM stream through and through, my brother. I'll find a way to teach you something with the game that I'm playing. Maybe, like, GTA is the one exception to that, but yeah. Yeah, same could be said about Space Barrel. Just give it some time. Sorry. Doing something stupid. Oh my god. Alright. You like the variety? Right on, man. Yeah. We'll bring KSP back into the fold. Bad? No, it's funny. I have a, MSC has been a heavy hitter lately. Yeah. Just wait till KSP 2? I don't know. Warsheeps. Oh my god, throwback. Alright, dudes. We're ready? Cool. We're gonna switch over to racing now. Sorry, I'm just being a little cheeky. Good old family texts. Good times. Family group texts. Yeah, just trolling. Oops. Variety streaming will allow you to grow. You'll be limited if you're a KSP-only streamer. Yeah, there's also that. Hi.
Hi.
What's up?
Nothing. What are you doing?
I'm about to start racing.
Vroom vroom.
Indeed. What's up, sweetie?
Nothing. I love you.
Love you too. What caused this?
I don't know. The family text just
Oh,
made
yeah?
me laugh and it got me excited. So I decided to come in here and hug you. What?
No, I was just telling him. I didn't tell them, but I told them I was just being a jerk in the family chat.
Yeah, I don't want. It's up to you. I'm not saying a gosh darn thing. I already blew it once.
Yeah.
Fire up!
Fire it up. Fire it up. Want to turn up the heat?
I'm trying to convince myself I don't need any more cheese or crackers. Or nachos. I do not need them.
Yeah. The cheese and crackers are the problem, huh? More cheese! Bridget's cute. I have spoken.
Chad, I reached new low. I had a wine at like 5:15, and then I was like, this wine really needs cheese and crackers. So I Uber Eats cheese and crackers. And I'm dealing with how I feel about that.
I feel no particular way about this subject in any way, shape, or form.
Sounds like it's... Nah. I just had some cider and metal wine now. No, I only had like a glass and a half of wine left from last weekend, so then I had a cider too. So.
You go, girl. From alcohol.
I just keep telling myself. Alcohol.
Nice.
I just keep telling myself if I do it with cheese and wine, then it's classy. And it's Friday, so it's responsible.
Fun, fun, fun.
Exactly, classy mode. Where's People Wine? You need People Wine. People Wine has got like a little wine glass and he does like...
People hands.
I'm like Randy from South Park. No.
What are you doing?
I want to show you People
Why are you touching the computer? Don't... People wine. Oh.
He just...
So, what spurred the Brimo appearance, I'll tell them.
Okay.
So, my sister's in the hospital. Don't worry, it's
when
nothing.
you say it like that.
Don't worry, it's nothing bad. She's expecting, and she's expecting like literally right now.
Yeah.
So what I keep doing in the group chat that has her in it, unlikely she has her phone in her hand right now, but I keep sending the airplane gif of good luck. We're all counting on you. I sent it once, and everybody laughed at the image, and then I sent it again, and everyone's like, "What?"
And then somebody was like, "Is there an echo in here?"
Yeah, and then I sent it
you
again.
Sent it again.
Yeah. Good luck. We're all counting on you. Somebody will find it funny.
I found it funny. No,
See?
what I find funny is her significant other, who is like early. Did I show you the text earlier?
Sending me pictures of Hulk Hogan going, "Whoa!"
Is he really?
Yes.
Because I sent him a text this morning and I said good luck and he said this is so friggin' scary. It's like, yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
So.
Girl, WW. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really talk about this too much, but the trolling thing is the reason to talk about it. Yeah, because that's hilarious.
Your 3D print is ready.
You're not wrong.
But yeah, so that's exciting. That's why I wanted to come in and check on EJ. And
yeah, that's why my face has been buried in my phone for some of Space News, because I'm just waiting for the updates. For the people that are saying, well, why aren't you there? Well, COVID.
Yeah.
No one can be there, so I figure might as well work.
Yeah, EJ's mom can't even be there, so
yeah.
We'll see.
Submarine is about to breach the surface. Want to hold off on racing to wait?
No. There's nothing you can do, guys. Like, what are we waiting for?